All right, guys, welcome back to the stream. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you are new here. Thank you guys so much for joining me today on this, Thursday, May 2nd, 2024. Also want to thank you guys for being patient while the intro plays there to allow more people to file in. You like the shirt? Yeah, I lost this shirt a while ago. I used to wear it, and then it just kind of got lost. Does that ever happen to you guys? You just have, like, shirts. Some of your favorite shirts usually are the ones that they just go missing. You have no idea where they went, and then just one day they turn up, and you're like, oh. Although it's a bit tight, as you can tell. Like, it's very tight on me. I think I may have actually outgrown it a little bit. But yeah, this is a Batman Arkham Knight shirt. Pretty cool. I actually found a couple of t-shirts that went missing recently. One of them was my Soundgarden t-shirt as well. Kind of makes me wonder what else might turn up. But yeah, appreciate you guys being here. The significance of the date, well, it's officially May. We did it. We made it. We made it 5 months into the year 2024. And as you know, there's a good chance that May is PlayStation Showcase month. So we will see. We will see. It's just the second day. Still got a lot of days ahead of us. All right, so I'm going to give you guys a quick rundown. I see I have 2 messages here already, and I will read them shortly, but I want to give you guys a quick rundown of the topics that we're going to be discussing today. And then after that, I'm going to let you know how you can help support the channel. So the first topic we're actually going to discuss, although something tells me that based off of these chats that I'm going to read, it may end up actually being the second topic or the third, depending on which direction we go in. But the planned, I'm going to emphasize and underline the word planned. Things don't always go according to plan here on the channel. The planned first topic is to talk about Horizon, specifically this conversation that's taking place of a Horizon remake or remaster that might be getting announced imminently. And this is interesting for a couple of reasons. For me, first and foremost, it's the idea that we're going to get a Horizon remaster announcement, and that's going to be an interesting announcement for sure. It also is interesting because it seems to indicate we're going to again be getting some kind of show very soon where this announcement will take place. However, there is something else that I think a lot of people are maybe missing here with this announcement. If it were to happen, again, this is all speculation, but there is a very specific reason why people are thinking that this remaster/remake is about to get announced. We'll talk about that. The second topic I want to talk about, as you can see here in my title, I say this is why Sony needs a big showcase. And what I'm really referring to here is the PS5 sales slowing down. Okay, we have some pretty interesting and I think important NPD data to go over and discuss, and it clearly highlights something that I was anticipating. I think a lot of people were anticipating, and that is that console sales are really starting to slow down, maybe more so than people were expecting, maybe more than Sony was expecting. And I want to just have this general discussion about why now is a critical time for Sony to have not just a showcase, but a big showcase to really incentivize people to go out there and buy the PS5. Because I think if Sony fails to do that soon, they could be running into some, I don't want to say serious problems, but, just situations that I think are not going to be ideal, certainly. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about Helldivers 2, and we have some interesting data regarding Helldivers 2. Number one, we're talking about how Sony and Arrowhead have found, and I don't mean this in an exaggerated way, they have found staggering success with Helldivers 2. Like, I'm actually shocked at some of the data we're getting and just how well this game has done for Sony. To put it in perspective, like, Helldivers is up there now in the upper echelon with Horizon, with The Last of Us, with Uncharted, with God of War. That's how well this game is done. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about PC implications once again, because we're getting some PC data. And we also have another topic after that we'll discuss regarding Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. We actually finally have some official sales data, but I also have an interesting that actually scared the shit out of me. See, we got a donation here, an actual direct donation, which is cool. I'm going to read that in just a minute, ACM. Thank you for that. I still got to get used to that. We don't get them too frequently, but I forget that I have the Metal Gear alert as the notification. So it definitely draws my attention. But yeah, I have an interesting write-up here that talks about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth sales, and also games like Helldivers 2 going to PC, as well as Microsoft bringing their games over. It's an interesting read, so we'll go over that as well. And so with that out of the way, I do want to, first and foremost, just thank you guys for being here and tuning in live. You guys are awesome. Obviously, without your viewership, without you being here, there would be no show. So thank you so much for that. I also want to give a shout out to anybody who can't watch the streams live. Maybe you just don't have the time, but you do take time out of your day to watch it later on. Thank you so much for that. Do me a favor, hit that like button. We are sitting at 59 likes. The reason why I ask you guys to hit the like button, two reasons. Number one, it lets me know you enjoy the content and that you want more of it. Number two, it also helps with YouTube's algorithm, and it helps push the streams out to new viewers so we can continue to grow this awesome community. So if you want to help grow this community and bring more like-minded people in so we can continue to have these discussions, just hit that like button. It helps tremendously. 3 ways you can support the channel directly, and 1 bonus way. Number 1, consider becoming a channel member, gain access to some exclusive perks. Some of these exclusive perks are the Members Lounge. We are going to be doing a Members Lounge after today's stream. So if you are a channel member, please look forward to that. You also gain access to all the previous Members Lounge episodes. You also get access to exclusive community posts. I don't use Twitter anymore, and so I figured, this is something that I would like to deliver for my members. Number 2, consider gifting memberships if you are already a member. It's a big thing we do here on the channel. The community very much appreciates it, and it goes a very long way in helping me and helping the channel. And number 3, you can consider donating a super chat, ask a question, give an opinion, make a statement, anything in between. It all helps tremendously. The 4th bonus way is there is a link at the top of the chat where you can donate directly to the channel, where 100% of that donation goes towards the content creator. So if that's something you're interested in doing, consider checking out that link. And just also want to make sure everybody's aware this channel, this content is purely fan funded. You guys are the sponsors. If it wasn't for your support, it wouldn't happen. So thank you so much for that. We have a milestone chat here from Connor, member for 4 months. He says, talk about Xbox bringing more games to PS5, according to a Microsoft insider. Connor, I think I do know what you're referring to here. And before I go any further, I also want to read the super chat from Chris Brown. Thank you for that, buddy. He says, Jez Corden says all Xbox first party on PlayStation, again, including Forza and Halo, and people are speculating the new performance mode on Starfield is in preparation for the PS5. I also want to read what ACM says here. Again, shout out to ACM for dropping a direct donation for $10. He says, I'm convinced that Zack Snyder and Rian Johnson are competing to be the worst movie directors of all time. So before I acknowledge the previous super chat, I don't know what's going on, man. Obviously, Rian Johnson, I don't know. I haven't been following him. I don't know what his most recent movies are, but I saw what happened with him in Star Wars The Last Jedi, and not good. not good. And Zack Snyder, I'm more familiar with what he's doing now and the whole situation with the Snyderverse and how that went down. And yeah, I know that he just put out Rebel Moon and there's like part 2. It's getting destroyed online. I have to be honest, like I have zero interest in watching this. And it's not because people are saying it's bad. I just had zero interest off the bat, but seeing so many people coming out and being like, yeah, this is really not good. It's like, all right, hey, you know what I say? Let's bring on James Gunn, his version of Superman. I just watched Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Great movie. Love the Guardians movies. Let's see what he can do. So ACM, thanks for that. We also have Matt Fu coming in, kicking off the day with some membership gifts. Matt Fu making his presence known, dropping a 10 bomb on you guys.
Thank you. Appreciate
Matt,
it.
thank you so much for that, buddy. It really, really means a lot to me in this community. Matt has been consistently dropping some membership gifts for you guys. So let's get some W's flowing in the chat for him. I'm also going to throw in a Mark Cerny there. We're eager to hear from Mark Cerny once again. I know Matt wants to see Mark Cerny reveal that PS5 Pro. I don't know if it's going to happen this month, though, unfortunately. We might have to wait a little bit longer. So, Matt, thank you for that. Chris and Connor, let me get back to your chats here. So, I do know what you guys are talking about, and I decided I didn't want to talk about this as a main topic of discussion today because there seems to be a bit of a misunderstanding with the situation. So we have Jez Corden of Windows Central. He, for the longest time, was considered a reliable Xbox / Microsoft insider. But it seems that what happened in February when the rumor mill exploded, I mean, we have to give it a name, like the Xbox catastrophe of 2024 or something. I don't know. Whatever you want to call it. So I'm sure somebody will come up with a clever name. But what happened in February, we know that so many different insiders were coming out and clashing, and everybody was saying different things, and there was just so much speculation. And one of the things that seemingly occurred was Jez Corden in particular, from what I could tell based off of the way people were reacting, it seems like he may have lost some credibility during that period because he was saying a lot of things that were kind of going back and forth, and people were having trouble discerning, like, okay, well, what's a leak? What's true? Like, is this some kind of inside information, or is this just you taking your best guess? And he also, one of the last things he said too is that he came out and he said very definitively, speaking to multiple sources, he can confirm that there is no PS5 version of Starfield in development. And it's like, okay, but it's kind of funny because you mentioned here, Chris, that Starfield just got a 60 FPS patch or is about to get a 60 FPS patch, and so many people are out here being like, is this in preparation for the PS5? And it's kind of crazy that that's the conversation. And so to tell you what happened today, Jez Corden, this is based off of my understanding, he was in his Discord. It's for like Xbox community members. And he basically said that everything is coming to PlayStation, including Halo and Forza. And he went on to kind of describe that Microsoft is really going to be treating the Xbox console hardware just like it's there if you want it. It's only for a select group of people, a very niche product, and it's really just going to kind of sit on the sidelines. It's just not going to matter. And he also talked about how Microsoft is seemingly planning to become more Steam-like and actually maybe try to integrate Steam to some extent. And obviously, people started reporting on this and being like, this is quite significant. Like, he, again, even though I do think he lost some credibility, I think he's still looked at as like an insider for Microsoft and Xbox. And so people jumped on this, and there were reports and everything else. And I was going to talk about it, but I decided to wait a little bit to see, if somebody else is going to corroborate this or if he's going to come out and clarify. And Jez Corden did come out and clarify, and he said he doesn't know. He doesn't know what Microsoft's plans are. He clarified that everything he was saying was speculation and not some kind of leak. If we go over to his Twitter, let me make sure the tweet's still there. I'm trying to find it. I didn't actually have it up. Hold on. Somewhere down here. He says here, I was just stating my opinion for the record. They took it as a report. That's in response to a WCCF Tech article, and they tweeted the article out, and they say, Xbox insider Jez Corden hints at major Xbox titles, including Halo and Forza, potentially making their way to PlayStation consoles. Somebody on Twitter named Carrie actually quote tweeted it and said, for a moment, let's take this as actually happening. Does Halo coming to PlayStation actually move the needle? It pains me to say it, but the Halo series fell out of the zeitgeist for a number of reasons. Halo Infinite is great, but it's old school. And then, again, Jez Corden replied to that saying, it's just my opinion. They took it as a report. And he also replied to somebody else earlier saying that it's not a leak. So this is important to clarify because, again, I've seen a lot of people bringing this up and talking about it, and we do need to make sure we are differentiating speculation, opinion versus an insider, making it known that I talk to sources and this is what they're telling me. So with that being said, just to give my brief thoughts on this, I mean, I agree mostly with Jez here. I mean, I don't know that I can speculate too deeply beyond what we've already talked about, but this idea that everything eventually will come to PlayStation, it seems to me fairly obvious. And the reason I say this is very simple. It's just a matter of kind of following the money. You know, if you look at Microsoft's recent earnings, they were kind of bragging about how well they were doing on PlayStation. And the reason for it is because they're presenting to their shareholders, hey, look at how much money we just made. We made that money. We made that money for the company, and you guys are going to get a share of that money. That's all that really matters at the end of the day. And so it's kind of silly to me to look at that result, you know, kind of speculating all this time that, well, why would Microsoft want to consider becoming a third-party publisher? Oh, well, it's because they bought multiple game publishers. They can become the biggest publisher in the industry, and therefore they can probably make the most money out of anybody in the industry. So it's like the logic is sound. The logic is there, and we are beginning to see that unfold in front of us. It's just not a, you know, overnight thing where it's like suddenly now, yes, everything is coming. I did see some people pointing to what Phil Spencer said during the Xbox business update, where he was basically saying, like, don't expect every game to come. And look, I'm not saying he's lying. I'm just saying with situations like this, we should realize that things change. Then things can and likely will change. And what Phil said in February might not really apply or matter come November of this year, come February of next year. And I think it may have just been a situation where at that time we can say that, you know, safely because we're only putting 4 games. But once Microsoft gets a taste of that money, once the shareholders get a taste of that money that's flowing in, it seems obvious to me what's going to happen. And that is very interesting to think that with Starfield getting this update, could it be in preparation for the PS5? Well, I don't know. Maybe. I will say that it is interesting to me that there was this entire argument that occurred on the internet for what felt like months about, is Starfield going to hit 60 FPS on the current gen consoles? And we found out that it wasn't. It was going to be locked at 30 FPS. And you know, a lot of people basically backed up the reasoning is it's just not possible. It's CPU bound. It's doing too many things. It's the scope, the size, the scale of this game. It's just too much for it to run at 60 FPS. And then here we are. It's like, actually, no, it just needed more optimization. I think it kind of reveals that the game wasn't necessarily fully optimized for the Series X. And so, I mean, the fact of the matter is, if they waited to launch Starfield up until now, they would have been able to launch Starfield on the Series X with a 60 FPS mode, or 40. I think they also said they're going to have a 40 FPS mode. And so, yeah, I mean, these things happen. It's nothing new, but it just seems to me like it's a real, genuine possibility that Xbox is going to end up fully embracing becoming a third-party multi-platform publisher, because that's where most of the money is going to be made. And I did speculate previously exactly what we just said here, and that is Microsoft is very likely going to treat the Xbox console hardware as, hey, if you want it, it's there. Right? We don't expect it to sell incredibly well. We don't expect to win a ton of market share. We certainly don't expect to sell better than the PlayStation or the Nintendo consoles, but we're still going to be there for the most loyal, dedicated Xbox fan that still demands hardware. I think that's exactly what they're going to do. We have, let's see, Rijab. I don't know, dude. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm just going to destroy your name. I'm just going to call you RB, if you don't mind. You're saying here, member for 6 months. MBG, do you have any expectations from this year's Call of Duty? And do you think Sony is also making their own Call of Duty style game? Well, I actually do have expectations for this year's Call of Duty, and I'm pretty excited for this year's Call of Duty. I have a higher expectation for Call of Duty 2024 because, well, in my opinion, it's the more talented studio making it, that being Treyarch Studios. I've always liked Treyarch. I think they've always done a great job with the Call of Duty games. But more so because this is the first time in Call of Duty history, as far as I'm aware, where they had 4 years of development time, a full 4 years. So, you really have to wonder, like, man, for a talented AAA development team like Treyarch, that's used to having maybe a year, 2 years at most to crank out another Call of Duty game, what can this team do with double that time, with 4 years? The last Call of Duty game that I actually really did enjoy was Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. And the only thing I'm a little bit worried about with this year's Call of Duty is if you go play something like Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, it feels arcade-like, right? It kind of retains that Treyarch classic Call of Duty arcade feel. That's what makes it very different from like Modern Warfare 1, 2, and 3. The remakes anyway, or the reboots. And I remember a while ago reading a report that apparently every Call of Duty studio was going to essentially use Infinity Ward's engine. And so I am wondering if this year's Black Ops game is actually going to turn out to be very similar in the way it feels to the Modern Warfare games. And I'm not saying I wouldn't enjoy that. I could enjoy that, but it might also serve to be a little bit disappointing because that's kind of what I like so much about Treyarch and their Call of Duty games is they maintain that very arcade feel. They're not really going for realism. They're not trying to, be a blend of Call of Duty and Battlefield. They just feel like classic Call of Duty. And so if they were to adopt that more, I don't know what to call it. Like, I don't know if it's a more realistic engine, but just a different feeling type engine. And that's how Black Ops is going to feel. Like, that's my question. Is Black Ops going to feel like Modern Warfare? Because if it does, I'm not saying it would be bad, but it might be slightly disappointing. But I'm still optimistic. Believe it or not, like, I think the thing I might be most excited to see at the Xbox showcase is Call of Duty. Like, they're having a whole dedicated show for it after the main show. So I'm like, okay, like, look, this might be my last ride with Call of Duty. It really might be, because I don't know what the future looks like. I don't think there will be another Call of Duty game that gets 4 years of development. So let's see. Let's see if we can kind of go out with a bang here. Yeah, that's true. David Vonderhaar left, unfortunately, and that makes me a little bit nervous, because David Vonderhaar is like the main guy behind Treyarch's Call of Duty Black Ops multiplayer formula. And he left a little while ago. So it's like, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe his work was already complete. We'll see. We'll see. But also, is Sony making their own Call of Duty style type game? That's it. I mean, that's the question, right? I'm going to say probably not, truthfully, because I think now that Sony, well, hold on. Sony still has to worry about that 10-year contract expiring. So maybe. I want to say that they're a lot less worried because they know they're going to have Call of Duty for at least 10 more years. But we do know that they have Jason Blundell over there, and he's responsible for Call of Duty Zombies and its tremendous success. We have Jake, TRML, coming in, keeping the membership train going strong today, dropping a single membership gift. Jake,
thank you.
Really appreciate that. And he says here with his milestone chat, what's up, MBG? Keep up the good work. Well, what's up, Jake? Appreciate that. I'll do my best to continue to do what you call good work here. I hope it's good work. I hope it comes across as good content. That's my hope. So I appreciate that, dude. He brought us up to 11 members on the day. Guys, just a reminder, if we hit 25 members today, you know how it goes. The Beast is next to me, waiting patiently. He does. I saw somebody say he looks a little tired. He does look tired today, doesn't he? He knows. I can't even say his name because he knows when I'm talking about him, and he thinks it's what time. Oh, see, there he goes. He thinks it's time. If we hit 25 members today, we'll feed the Beast. You know how it goes. Boss looks high today. He's got his paw on me right now. He's just like extended his paw. He's like, please. But I want to say it's a 50-50 chance that Sony could have their own Call of Duty studio, or not studio, type of game in development. On one hand, 10 years is a long time, and Sony could look at it as, look, we have 10 years to try to make a Call of Duty competitor. Let's get on it. On the other hand, they might just not be worried about it. They might, now that Microsoft is actually bringing some of their games over to PlayStation, Sony might be completely convinced, and you couldn't blame them for being completely convinced that, oh yeah, they're just going to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation. They're definitely not taking it off ever. I couldn't blame Sony for looking at it that way, because it's like, well, they said they weren't. They would lose a ton of money if they did. And now they're even bringing some of their other games over. So, does Sony really need to create a Call of Duty competitor? I don't know. And then there's also the question of, would that be a wise decision for Sony to make? Because creating a Call of Duty competitor is no easy task. That is a very, very monumental task. And you do have to wonder if maybe, whoa, hold on, boss. Don't fall. You do have to wonder if, those resources would be better served creating something new and fresh that's not trying to mimic Call of Duty. But yeah, I guess we'll call that topic number 1, honestly, because it took up quite a bit of time. And I had a feeling people were going to ask me about this. And again, I didn't want to list it as a main topic because it's just somebody who considers themselves an Xbox fan, very much speculating about the future of Xbox. And if we hear more about what Xbox is planning to do when it comes to their games possibly going to PS5, I'll be sure to let you guys know. But I just want to make sure if it's not official, I just want to make sure it's actually a proper insider report before we cover it. So, all right. with that being said, we will move to the next topic, guys. Again, hit that like button. We are already sitting over 105 likes, which is great to see. Thank you so much for continuing to show such great support. Let's see if we can get to 125, maybe even 150 likes. We have over 370 people here, so I'd really appreciate that. We're going to talk about this alleged Horizon remaster slash remake and why people are speculating this is an announcement that Sony's going to have soon. This is being reported from Push Square. They say the PlayStation Store listing for Horizon Zero Dawn has been updated to state that it's leaving PlayStation Plus Extra on May 21st, 2024, as a first-party title published by Sony and internally developed at Guerrilla Games. The move comes as a surprise, as it was thought all the titles Sony holds the rights to would remain in the service in perpetuity. The game isn't appearing in the membership's Last Chance to Play section yet, but if you button through its store page, an expire date of May 21st, 2024 is listed. This is the same day 25 other PS5 and PS4 and classic titles are set to leave PS Plus Extra. With it being the complete edition, that means the Frozen Wilds expansion for Horizon Zero Dawn will also be on its way out. The last time a game published by Sony left the service would be Marvel's Spider-Man, which departed months before Marvel's Spider-Man 2 launched as a part of a normal content refresh. Getting into speculation on Reddit, some users think this might be happening because Sony has a long-rumored remake/remaster of Horizon Zero Dawn ready to announce and will be releasing quickly. Do you think the Horizon origin story is being, or why do you think Horizon Zero Dawn is being removed? I don't know why they worded it that way. And so, yeah, this is what's leading to kind of mass speculation that a Horizon Zero Dawn remaster, PS5 remaster, remake, I think that's the real question here. Is it going to be a remaster? Is it going to be a remake? Should it be either of those things? Do we need this? Is it actually happening? It's worth remembering that about a year and a half ago, I think at this point, it was actually quite a while ago, we were getting reports and rumors that Sony did greenlight a Horizon Zero Dawn remaster. And, you know, people at that time were like, you got to be kidding me. This was actually very much in close proximity to something like The Last of Us Part 1 remake. And yeah, so there's a couple things with this. Number one, there is an aspect to this that I think people are forgetting about I'm pretty sure this is how Sony's going to try to handle this. I don't know how dense Sony really is. Sometimes they can be very dense. Other times it seems like they kind of understand. They know how to read the room. In the case of Horizon Zero Dawn remaster/remake, I would hope Sony is able to read the room. Boss, you're not going to jump on my desk, man. I'm sorry. You can't jump on my desk. You're going to end up falling. It's not going to be good. In the case of Horizon Zero Dawn remaster/remake, I would hope that Sony can properly read the room, because they have to know, like, this will get backlash. Will there be people who are excited for it? Yes. Will there be people who buy it and play it? Yes. But will there be backlash? Yes, there will be, because people feel as though Sony is going way overboard with the amount of remakes and remasters. Like, they just feel like it's a bit too much. And especially when we're talking about games that are really not that old and still hold up very well and still look very good. So here's what I think Sony's going to do. The Horizon multiplayer game. I think this is something that people continue to forget about, which I can't blame them. It's been in development for so long. If Sony does have a show this month or anytime soon, I feel really confident that Guerrilla's Horizon multiplayer game will show up, because it's been in development for years. It didn't get canceled. That means it's making good progress. I bet you what they're going to do is do kind of a dual announcement situation. First, they're going to announce the multiplayer game, and I guess the assumption is it'll look good. It should get some people excited. And then after that, they're immediately going to announce also Horizon Zero Dawn remaster, and they're not going to make a huge deal about it. They're just going to put it out there. It's going to have Horizon Forbidden West level graphics, and there will be a $10 upgrade path for anybody who owns Horizon Zero Dawn on PS5. If Sony is in fact gearing up to announce a Horizon Zero Dawn remaster or remake, that is, in my opinion, the only way they could do it without upsetting a lot of people and causing unnecessary backlash. If they treat it like The Last of Us Part 1 remake, there's going to be a big problem. If they're like, it's going to be a $50 title and there isn't going to be an upgrade path, and sorry, like, I could see that backfiring on them pretty severely, because I think it's safe to say nobody asked for that. So as long as they offer a proper upgrade path, and as long as they make another announcement with it, right? Like, as long as they announce a new game, I think people will be fine with it. And even if you're not fine with it, there's one other aspect to this that I think will be important for Sony to acknowledge. They need to let us know who remastered it, who remade it, because something that people get pretty upset about is they don't want to see Sony wasting development time and resources and, using their first party studios in a meaningless way. And I think that if it's revealed that, like, new hires at Guerrilla did this, or some small team worked on it, as long as they just properly communicate that, like, listen guys, Horizon 3 is still in development. You got a brand new multiplayer Horizon game here, and this is just like a thing we wanted to do for the TV show, because that's another thing as well. There is a Horizon Netflix series in the works. We know Sony wants to get that synergistic, they want to get that synergy going between the game and the show and everything. So, yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see if this is real, how Sony handles it. I just don't want it to cause unnecessary backlash, because, yeah, I'm in the camp that I don't think this needs to happen. Like, I definitely have no intention of replaying. No, the series is not going to be animated, by the way. But I have no intention of replaying this in this way. But for those who are, interested, as long as there's an upgrade path, I think it's fine. Chad A, you're saying remake with a prologue where machines go crazy. Now that would be interesting. If they remade the game but added like a whole section to it, like a prologue, like you're mentioning here, that would definitely be fascinating. But I highly doubt that. And then you're saying here, actually, Horizon FPS would act as a prologue. That's very true. That would be I don't think that's what's going to happen, but that would be absolutely wild if Guerrilla was like, here's our Horizon multiplayer game. It's a prologue before the actual, before the actual events of Horizon, and it's a first-person shooter. That would be pretty crazy. Lone Wolf Gamer says, MBG, what's your opinion on Sarah Bond's tweet about the showcase showing both a green and blue heart at the end? Well, what's your take on it? What do you guys think? I mean, I think it's kind of obvious. She's not dumb. She knows what's happening right now. She knows what time it is. Could be Blizzard. Oh, yeah. Who's thinking that, though? I mean, to me, it's just a little kind of potential tease. I think it was definitely done intentionally, but I'm not saying that I look at that as like confirmation for anything. Blue is for ABK, means Blizzard. You know what? Actually, maybe that does make more sense, because you would think if it meant the other thing, oh, she's teasing PlayStation, wouldn't there be a red one too to signify Nintendo? So actually, yeah, I will say that. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I actually didn't think of that. The fact that there's only green and blue and not green, blue, and red. Okay. You could tell, man. People want to know, though. People want more information from Microsoft, because I feel like this is something that people have been fixated on, and I can't blame them. It's a big deal, but Jack says Sarah Bond knows what blue means. It's not her first day at Xbox. Well, we'll see. We'll see. We'll know soon enough. But yeah, getting back to the Horizon conversation here. I can't say I'm like really upset. I mean, like really upset at the idea of Sony saying, all right, we're going to remaster Horizon Zero Dawn for PS5. Only because, again, man, like it's so obvious to me how this has to be handled, where if you decide you're going to reveal this at a showcase, this has the potential to just be a very smooth announcement. As long as you have a bunch of other exciting announcements for new stuff that people have been waiting to hear about, I'm telling you, Sony could drop a Horizon remaster announcement and a God of War remaster announcement, and no one would care as long as it was done in the showcase where there were actual new exciting announcements occurring for games people like really do want. If that happened, no one would care. And so I hope they're playing it smart. But my big thing is I just don't want them to be stupid with it and greedy, where there is no reason whatsoever for Sony to treat this Horizon. I probably should change the wording in the title and the thumbnail to remaster, but there's no reason for them to treat it like a proper remake, because there's no reason to remake Horizon. There's a reason to remaster it, sure. Hey, look, we improved our engine substantially. If you look at the graphical fidelity and the overall presentation of Horizon Forbidden West on PS5, you compare that to Horizon Zero Dawn on PS4, even PS4 Pro, don't get me wrong, Horizon Zero Dawn still holds up, still looks phenomenal, but there's no denying that Forbidden West looks substantially better. Like, it's a major improvement. It looks like a next-gen leap to a certain extent. Not entirely, but in some areas, yeah. And so if that's what they want to deliver for people who really like the Horizon series, listen, the reality is if they offer a $10 upgrade, it's going to do well. I'll tell you. If they offer a $10 upgrade, it'll do well. See the rants in the chat. What's up, man? Glad you could join us today. So I have a question. Well, actually, let me see what Irfin's saying. They could shadow drop it. That would be even smarter, to be honest. Don't even give people a chance to be upset. That would actually be very smart. That's the smartest way to handle it. Hey guys, Horizon Zero Dawn remaster for PS5 and PC, $10 upgrade. By the way, it's out today. Go check it out if you're interested. Who could really be mad about that though? You know, like, it's already out there. What are you going to do? Should be on PS Plus. Oh, that'd be really cool. I don't think that would happen, though. I don't think that would happen. But that would actually be amazing if Sony was like, here's the June lineup for PS Plus Essential featuring Horizon Zero Dawn Remaster. I think people would be very hyped for that. But I just don't want to see Sony get too lost, although I think some people think they already are too lost in remakes and remasters. The thing that I've learned with remakes and remasters is everybody feels differently about them. And it also greatly depends on what type of game, like which game it is. Like I know for a fact that there are people pretty much begging for like a God of War 1, like an original God of War from the ground up remake, and people would lose their minds over that. We see people begging for a Bloodborne remaster or remake of some kind, and Bloodborne came out 2 years before Horizon Zero Dawn. And it's weird because like when you see something like Horizon Zero Dawn like getting remastered, you know, it's one of these things where also people are kind of questioning, like, shouldn't something else get this treatment instead? Like, isn't there something else that deserves this over Horizon? And that to me is kind of the sad part where it's like, yeah, yes. I think the answer to that question is yes. Like, should Bloodborne get a remaster before Horizon? Yes. And it's wild that it hasn't happened. But I think it's all about the strategy. I think if you have any kind of general understanding about what Sony is aiming for with their strategy, you should be able to kind of predict these things a little bit where, hey, guess what? We're doing a Horizon TV series with Netflix and we have a Horizon multiplayer game. So with that in mind, we're probably going to make a PS5/PC remaster for Zero Dawn. You know, Bloodborne will come at some point. There's, I think, been, I don't want to say confirmation, but there were some really prominent rumors, I think a couple months ago, that a Bloodborne show or movie or some kind of Bloodborne series or movie is in the works. It's in the early phases. Sony specifically invested into From Software for this reason. So it's clear like what Sony wants to do. They want to have the whole package. Sony's not going to touch Bloodborne again until, all right, we're ready to really go all in with Bloodborne. We're going to do a proper remake. We're going to have a show. And probably by that point, you would hope a sequel, some kind of sequel, something that's going to continue it. This is what Sony's aiming for when it comes to how they approach their games. And I know some people might not like this, but it's just the reality of how they operate now. Can it be a major franchise that can be part of transmedia? Like, can it be a transmedia franchise where the focal point is the game itself, but then we have everything else built around it? All this other media to hopefully make it extend beyond just the gaming landscape. So, yes, Boss is licking the curtains. I don't know why he does that. I asked Mrs. MBG the other day, I was like, when Boss starts licking the curtains on my streams, on a scale from 1 to 10, how weird is it? And she was like, 17. I'm like, yeah, it's pretty weird. But hey, man, this is the type of content you don't get anywhere else. Boss, you're such a weirdo. It's okay though. We still love you. He must just like the way it feels or something. It sounds like sandpaper when he's doing it too. Sounds like it doesn't sound pleasant. Zagodka says delicious. Well, guys, when it comes to this Horizon, again, I don't want to. I want to make sure we keep this in perspective here. Keep everything, keep it from going too far out there. It's worth noting that nothing has been confirmed. All right. Sony has not announced a Horizon Zero Dawn remaster/remake. And the only thing we currently know is that Horizon Zero Dawn is set to leave PlayStation Plus Extra. I think, I will say this, even though nothing has been confirmed, I think this it's obvious. This is very obvious that Sony's about to announce something. But I don't want anybody to assume it's 100% officially confirmed. We do have to wait for that announcement to happen. But this does kind of lead me into my next topic here. Irvin, you say that's a direct tease? I mean, yeah, that's kind of how I'm looking at it. Oh, you know what? Before I move on, I do wonder how much this has to do with something like the PS5 Pro as well, right? Because it's worth noting that the game that Sony basically flexed the most with the PS4 Pro, it was Horizon Zero Dawn back in 2016 and 17. And I do wonder if they're going to kind of do that again, where maybe by the time the PS5 Pro is announced, they'll have, here's Horizon 1 remaster and Horizon Forbidden West, and look at how good it looks on the Pro with like full ray tracing and shit. Yeah, I could see that. Ray trace knack. Yeah, that's what we need. That's what we need, man. The world needs that more than ever. We need knack 3 with path tracing on the PlayStation 5 Pro. I don't think it could do path tracing, but you know. He's making biscuits. Yeah, now he's, man, he is he's being away today, guys. He's needing. Russell says, "Why did you quit Twitter?" I don't like Twitter. Twitter, I'm not going to go on a tirade here, but I'll just, to answer your question very simply, Twitter has done nothing for me. Nothing positive. And I feel bad for anybody who follows me on there that they're not shitty people. They're just, normal, nice people that are following me. I hope that they can come to my YouTube channel, but I hate Twitter because it's just the worst. It is. Like, there's just no sense of normalcy or decency on Twitter from what I can tell. And so I've been saying for a long time that I was thinking about being done with it and moving on from it. And I would kind of always go back. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I'll never go back. I'll never say never, but this is the longest I've been away from it. And my life has improved. Like, I'm not kidding. My life has improved. I know that sounds maybe a little bit dramatic, but now that I don't interact with people on Twitter, and essentially all I do is interact with people on my channel here, my life has genuinely improved quite a bit. And it really, after I would say the third week of not using it, it really kind of highlighted like, wow, man, that place really brings you down. It does. And it makes me wonder how many people are still on Twitter and you're using Twitter every day and interacting with people on Twitter every day, not realizing that, dude, you are carrying weight, like, needlessly. Just if you could just drop this weight, you realize how much better you can feel. So hopefully that answers your question. Saying it's because you chat are great people. Oh yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I also feel like it's because on YouTube people get to see more of me and hear me a little bit more. Like, there's more nuance to YouTube, where you guys actually get to listen in to me and I get to say things that are not, limited by text and whatnot. And so I think it just leads to people being more decent and reasonable. Stop. Come on, dude. Guys, we're going to have to expedite the process to get to that 25 member goal because Boss is really starting to lose it here. Bro. He's like trying to aggressively jump onto my desk here. But yeah, we'll see what happens with this Horizon situation. Again, my final word on it for now, until we get more info, is I hope Sony handles it correctly. I hope Sony handles it wisely and makes it so that I don't think they're going to make everybody happy, but just at the very least so that people aren't raging and pissed off, because I just don't think this is a good time for Sony to be pissing anybody off. Boss is going through withdrawal. I mean, with the way he's acting, you would think so. Seriously. All right, but what we're going to do now is move on to the next main topic of discussion. And before I do that, I want to just once again ask you guys to please hit that like button. We are sitting at 141 likes, so you guys are doing a great job today hitting that like button. Let's see if we could get to 150, maybe even 175. We have over 400 people here watching, so I think we could crush that very easily if everybody tried to contribute. But I want to now have this conversation with you about why Sony needs a big showcase, because there is some new data that has come out that I think very clearly highlights how imperative it is for Sony to again, as I said earlier, not just have a showcase, have a very good showcase, have a big showcase, have something that genuinely feels impactful and not something that people are going to question like, was that a bad showcase? No, boss. Come on. So, come on. This data that I want to highlight here. Well, actually, before I highlight this data, I want to go back a couple of months. I want to go back to February 14th. Okay. I have an article here from The Verge. February 14th, 2024. Sony now expects to sell 4 million fewer PS5 consoles in its 2023 fiscal year ending March 31st compared to previous projections. Bloomberg reports the revision came as part of today's third quarter earnings release, which saw Sony lower the PS5 sales forecast from the 25 million consoles it expected to sell down to 21 million. While PS5 sales were up in Sony's third quarter, increasing to 8.2 million units from 6.3 million in the same quarter the previous year, Bloomberg notes that this was roughly a million units lower than it had previously projected. That's despite the release of the big first-party title Spider-Man 2, strong sales of third-party titles, and the launch of a new slimmer PS5 in November. In the third quarter, Sony's gaming revenue was up 16% versus the same period last year, but operating income was down 26% due to promotions. And it says here, according to Sony, the company plans to emphasize profitability over unit sales as the console approaches its fourth birthday. Looking ahead, PS5 will enter the latter stage of its life cycle, said Sony Senior Vice President Naomi Matsuoka in comments reported by Bloomberg. As such, we will put more emphasis on the balance between profitability and sales. For this reason, we expect the annual sales pace of PS5 hardware, it will start falling from the next fiscal year. Sony added that it has no plans to release any new major existing franchise titles in its next fiscal year. So we talked about all this and we covered this quite extensively, but there's a reason why I'm going back and highlighting it. Before I tell you what that reason is, I have to give a shout out to Aries09, keeping the membership train going here today by dropping a single membership gift as well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Aries09. Appreciate you continuing to support the channel and the community. Clearly trying to get us up to 25 members so we can feed the beast here who's losing his mind. We also have Chris Brown here saying PSVR 2 missing out on Arkham VR to Quest 3 is crazy. Yes, I'm going to talk about that in a moment, Chris. But before I deviate too far here, I want to say that the reason why I'm bringing this up, I'm bringing up Sony's earnings from February 14th, 2024, their third quarter earnings, because we now have some NPD data about the last quarter. Okay. So this comes from Matt Piscatella, and he reports, he's the head of the NPD, the executive director, and he says February video game hardware spending fell 32% when compared to a year ago to $391 million. But here's the more important part. PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, and Switch spending each declined a minimum of 30% year on year. Now, I need to emphasize each, not combined. PS5, Xbox Series, and Switch, the minimum is a 30% drop on spending year on year. Hardware spending finished the first quarter down 24% versus the first quarter of 2023. So we're looking at hardware sales generally being down by 24% compared to the previous year. But on top of that, we are looking at spending on these consoles being down minimum 30%. I think it's safe to say that the PS5 is probably at around the 30% mark. The Series and the Switch, probably lower than that. But it also says here that PlayStation 5 led the hardware market in unit and dollar sales during both March and in the entire first quarter. Nintendo Switch finished second in unit sales in the same time period, and the Series consoles ranked second in dollar sales. Boss, bro, come on, man. Chill. Now, this right here, okay, if there was ever a reason for Sony to say, you know what? We need to make damn sure we have a good showcase. Don't do it. Don't do it. That we have a good showcase this year. This is why. Because the console sales are falling, man. And Sony acknowledged themselves in February. They said it to their investors that we're going to have to lower our sales projection by 4 million. And I'm very curious if Sony's actually able to hit that 21 million units sold, because that's still a very high mark. But on top of that, they straight up said, like, going forward, we do expect PS5 sales to slow down. We do expect PS5 sales to, they're not saying like to just die, but, going forward, it's going to be less. And that could be due to getting a massive bump throughout 2022 due to the shortage officially being over, or 2023, I mean, not 2022. But you see this data, from the NPD, and it paints a pretty clear picture. I mean, the economy is bad. We know this. People are struggling out there, and it kind of makes complete sense, actually. And it's not kind of, it does make complete sense that less people are going to be focused on buying video game consoles and spending money on video games when they're trying to figure out, am I going to have enough for groceries and gas and stuff like that? More important things that are priorities. But I don't believe it's just that, right? Like, I think that is a part of it, and we do have to acknowledge it. But I think it's more so that people are losing excitement. People are losing interest. And I think a big reason for that is because, well, it's not that Sony isn't doing anything. It's just that Sony hasn't done a specific thing in a while. And I feel like I'm definitely a broken record saying this, and I do apologize if I come off that way, but it's becoming more relevant and more obvious as each month goes by that Sony is not generating the necessary interest and excitement to continue to drive PS5 sales in the way that they should. And we had Paul Ganell coming in. He's answering the call. Paul Ganell comes in, drops 5 more memberships for you guys, dropping a 5 bomb.
Appreciate it.
Paul, really appreciate that, man. You just brought us up to 17. Whoa, hey, you can't chew that wire. Who's going to follow up Paul here? We're sitting at 17. We're less than 10 members away. A 10 bomb would take us over the 25 mark. Really appreciate that, dude. Let me add that to the counter. Boss, no, you can't. Okay. He's pushing my buttons today, bro. Get out of there. He's chewing all these wires down there that if he actually were to chew through any of them, it would immediately end the stream. Like, he just tried to chew through my Ethernet cable. Like, bro, are you kidding me right now? Boss knows. It's funny, dude. When Boss hears me, like, announce the memberships and stuff, he gets more excited. So, Paul, thank you so much for that, dude. And thank you to everybody who's continuing to show direct support. Sony's problem is communication. It's not even just communication. I think it has gone beyond that at this point. I think communication is a problem to an extent to where they're just not really being that forthcoming with most things. And they still kind of, I don't think it's like terrible. Like, they still have blog posts and stuff. They still do communicate, but it's like, it's just a very muted and quiet and subdued way of communicating with very little fanfare and very little excitement driven behind it. And I think that's the whole thing. If I had to just kind of focus in on one word to define and explain the current situation with Sony, and specifically with PlayStation and the PS5 console, it's excitement. It's lack of excitement. Yes, Stellar Blade is great, and it is exciting. And I'm very happy, as I'm sure many of you are, that here in May of 2024, we have a new AAA game to play on our PS5. I think that's awesome. And again, salute to Sony. You're doing your job. This is why I bought a PS5, for content, for games. But it's exactly that, Carl. It's exactly that. But what else is coming? What else can we look forward to? You know what? Not even for me, right? Not even for us. Not even for, I mean, of course, for those people who bought PS5s, but knowing that PS5 console sales are slowing down, what about for the people who haven't bought a PS5 yet? IP Gaming's like, Coral G. What is next? I mean, that meme would be pretty applicable right now, though, right? But that's really what it boils down to, is the question is not whether Sony is struggling to sell enough PS5s. The PS5 is doing well. Bro, what are you doing, man? I've never seen this cat act like this. The PS5 is doing well. I want to establish that. I don't want to make it sound like the PS5 is floundering. It's failing. It's on its way out. No, it's not that serious. However, it has reached a point where, but it has slowed down a lot. And that slowdown is continuing. And I am of the belief that if Sony doesn't do something soon, that slowdown will get worse and worse. And I think, again, man, it just all falls down on, you need to have an amazing showcase that reignites the fan base. And most importantly, just gets people excited. Get people excited about the PlayStation 5 again. That's what it comes down to. People were excited about the PlayStation 5 at the launch. They were excited about the PlayStation 5 in 2021. And even going into 2022 with heavy hitters like Ragnarok and GT7 and Horizon, even though they were cross-gen, people were still excited. And in 2023, things were still good, but you could feel like, okay, we're still excited, but it does feel like you can kind of tell a slowdown is about to happen or occur. And now, 5 months into 2024, even though Sony has been doing a great job delivering content and making sure the content is there for people who have purchased the PS5, it doesn't mean they're not lacking the excitement factor. And the excitement factor is, I would say, the lowest. I can say this definitively. Okay, I can say this definitively because I've been here for the entire PS5 generation. I was here for the build-up starting in late 2018, all throughout 2019, up until now. I've seen everything. Day after day, day in, day out. I've seen everything, and I can tell you definitively, this is the least excited I've ever seen people about PlayStation for the time that I've been covering it. I have not seen, and the only thing right now that's saving face, if you want to put it that way, is Stellar Blade. Stellar Blade is the only thing. You gotta get out of there, dude. Stellar Blade is the only thing making it so that, people aren't walking away and like totally losing interest. But I can honestly tell you that like the hype is not there for the future of the PS5. There's a lot of doubt, a lot of concern, a lot of worry. And I think that Sony has to address this. They don't have to address it directly by being like, let me tell you why you shouldn't be worried. But they have to address it indirectly by saying, this is why you should get excited. And we have Pugmaster the Supreme coming in out of nowhere. I do believe this is your first time gifting a membership. Pugmaster the Supreme comes in and says, you know what? I want to pay it forward. I want to drop a membership gift onto this community. He drops a single.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for that, man. Brings us up to 18 guys. We're making our way. We're making our way. See if we get a single membership train going. That's a thing, right? Pugmaster the Supreme says, let's get a single membership train going. And yeah, that's another thing too, is something like Helldivers 2, which we're going to talk about as well. Helldivers 2 has I would say, I'm going to be honest, I think Helldivers 2 saved Sony this quarter. I do. I think that without it, man, Sony would be looking at a really, really down quarter. And when they are, yeah, Chris, I know. Well, yeah, I'll try to segue into that in a moment. But I think Helldivers 2 saved it. Because think about it. If Helldivers 2 didn't drop and it wasn't such a big success, I mean, I don't know. That's a bad look, I would say. But Chris, you did say with your super chat that PSVR 2 missing out on Arkham VR to Quest 3 is crazy. I saw this, and I'm gonna be honest, man. Maybe this is a bit dramatic, but maybe it's not. When I saw that announcement, I immediately thought, "Oh yeah, a new big PSVR 2 game was just announced." And then when I saw that it's not coming to PSVR 2, I immediately just thought, like, PSVR 2 is dead. Yeah, like I don't want to say that definitively, but that is bad. That is very, very bad. I want to remind people that PSVR 1 had an exclusive Batman Arkham Knight VR, like, small game made for it. Flash forward to where we are now with PSVR 2, and a new Arkham game is being made for VR, and it's not coming to PSVR 2. I think it's cooked, man. I say that as somebody who owns PSVR 2. It's like, that would have been really cool. Like, that would have been a very cool thing to talk about and say, like, wow, check out this new Batman Arkham game. The Arkham series is continuing for VR. It's in, like, that's crazy to me. And I do have to question how Sony plans to acknowledge this. Do they plan to acknowledge this? Is Sony going to just kind of not really talk very much about PSVR 2 going forward? Are they going to just do the bare minimum? Are they going to just not really answer the question of, like, why aren't people who invested in PSVR 2, why aren't we getting this new Batman Arkham game? And that's another reason why Sony has to have a good showcase, because even though there'll be a very small portion of the people tuning in, there will be people who purchased PSVR 2. They will be tuning in to this PlayStation showcase in the hopes that Sony will talk about PSVR 2. Yeah, that's a good point, Chris. You're saying Metro VR is coming, but it's also on Quest 2. That's ancient hardware. That's not a real PSVR 2 game. That's what I mean, man. It feels like Sony really dropped the ball with this one, and it's to a point where I don't know that they're going to be able to recover from it, because we've heard reports about PSVR 2 not selling well. We've heard reports that Sony stopped manufacturing the headset because they can't even sell the ones that they already manufactured. We're sitting here with, as far as I'm aware, 0 first-party PSVR 2 games announced. So it's getting, like, no first-party support. And I don't mean to be the doomer here, but it just seems like there's no hope for it. There isn't even a price cut. Like, I want to highlight that if the report is true that Sony stopped manufacturing PSVR 2 headsets, they didn't even offer a price cut to move the units that are still sitting there. Saying it's not just Sony, nobody wants VR. Apple's also cooked. No, you could be right as well. That's the thing too that does need to be talked about is, I mean, is VR really here? Like, is it the thing? Because I remember a while ago when VR was starting to take off, it was like one of these moments where it's like, oh man, this is the next thing. And like years and years went on, and everybody said, well, the tech just isn't there yet. Like the technology, it needs like a couple more iterations. And like here we are. It's like, I just don't think it's going to happen. I don't. And I'm not trying to be negative purposely. It's just I'm being honest in my assessment that I don't think VR will ever be able to compete with the sheer convenience of sit on your sofa and turn your TV on and play on your TV. I just don't see how, because VR, it demands, even if we talk about technology improving and VR being able to be something where you just put a pair of glasses on your face, even if it were to get to that, it demands you need to move. It asks you to be physical, to physically exert yourself in some way. That is another thing that people are like, a lot of times when people go to play video games, they're doing so to relax, at the very least physically relax, right? Where it's like, sure, maybe I'm getting immersed in this and my brain power is going towards it, but I'm just chilling on my sofa or my recliner or, at my desk chair. So I just think that there's way too much going against VR. And I hate to say this. I do. I hate to say this because I've experienced PSVR 2 and I understand how amazing it can be. And it really can be amazing. So it does pain me to say this, but I think Sony made a mistake. I do. I think Sony fucked up greenlighting PSVR 2 and deciding to invest as much as they did into it. And especially now where we're seeing kind of a resurgence with handhelds. If I had to make a prediction on what's next, this is what I think is next. I think we're going to see PSVR 2 get abandoned slowly, but I think we're already seeing that happen. It's going to get abandoned. Sony's going to kind of sweep it under the rug as we approach the end of this generation, and they're just going to kind of pretend it never happened. And they're going to re-embrace the handheld market. They're going to make a proper handheld. And I think that's what's going to happen. Will I sell my VR? No, I'm going to hold on to it. If anything, just for the memories. But no, I mean, I'm still hopeful that there will still be some experiences that come out that, I'll get excited to play. But I don't think, I'll be honest with you, man. Like, I don't think as somebody who even invested in a headset, like if Sony were to come out and be like, we kind of like can't invest in this any further, I would kind of understand where it's like, yeah, like that sucks. And I wish it wasn't this way, but man, it's just not looking good out there. Like it's just not. Like if you couldn't even secure this Batman Arkham VR game, it's like, what hope does this headset have? Yeah, and that's true. I mean, something like GT7, which I've experienced, it is mind-blowing in VR 2. But the question is like, is it doing what it needs to do for the headset? That's the question that matters. Is it selling VR 2 headsets? Is it justifying this thing's existence? Is it justifying the demand for the resources that Sony's going to have to continue to pour into it? Is it doing that? And I'm going to say probably not. Probably not. Same thing with RE4 Remake. Dude, RE4 Remake in PSVR 2 is mind-blowingly good. And I don't think it matters. I hate to say that, but it's like, I just don't think it matters. I think a lot of people are like, yeah, man, that looks awesome. I ain't buying that shit. If I had to summarize VR, I think it's exactly that. I think for like 95 to 98% of consumers, it's like, whoa, that does look awesome. I'm not buying that. Because let me ask the people who are watching right now, how many of you feel that way, honestly, where like you've seen PSVR 2 games, like, yeah, that's pretty cool, but did you buy PSVR 2? Are you going to buy PSVR 2? Boss, what are you doing, bro? Why are you licking my TV? Get down. Come on, get down. There's no way I just turned my head and saw Boss licking my TV. Oh my God. Chase says I don't plan on it. Hanzo says me and my brain are not equipped for VR. Dan says I bought a PSVR 2, but I totally understand when people can't afford. Dude, Boss is pushing me, bro. He just bit my knuckle. This cat is pushing me. It's too niche. Velocity says I would have bought it if it had more first-party support. Ray, you're saying you got a Portal before PSVR 2. Yeah. See, I don't know, man. I think a lot of you guys here as well would be considered like the hardcore type of PlayStation fan, certainly. And even I think a lot of you guys are like, yeah, no, I'm good. Even I was hesitant on it. You know, when I made the purchase, I was hesitant. And I don't necessarily regret it, but it's just, I'm not surprised that it's come to this, is what I guess what I'm trying to say. Handhelds are the way to go next. I agree with that. I think if Sony's going to make a pivot, that's the way to do it. I mean, it will be unfortunate if they have no choice but to just say, sorry, like we really just can't do VR anymore. Like we can't justify it. But if, you know, I think they could make up for it by being like, but we're doing dedicated handhelds again. I think that'd be very exciting. I think that would be way more exciting for a lot of people. You kind of have to question why Sony ever left the handheld market. I know the Vita didn't really do what Sony had hoped it would, but I think they left the market too soon. Oh yeah, that's another thing that really hurt PSVR 2 is the fact that PSVR 1's library is not available on it. It's not backwards compatible. Yeah, that's true. And one of the games that was supposed to be a bigger game that came out for Firewall Ultra, dude, the first version of that game for PSVR 1 did pretty well, and it had a pretty decent audience. And I think it even sold a decent amount of PSVR 1 headsets. But then the sequel came out, and it was like a broken mess. And the launch was so poor, it closed the studio. And it's like, what what just happened? It's crazy, dude. It's crazy the way it's all kind of happening. But let me circle back around here. Let's get back to the PlayStation Showcase. I'm going to be honest with you. I do think PlayStation VR 2 will appear at the next PlayStation Showcase, but I think it's going to be very minimal. I think it's going to be very minimal. I don't think it's going to be much. And I think that that's what we can expect from Sony with PSVR 2 with these shows going forward is just kind of the bare minimum. However, what I don't expect to be the bare minimum is once again reiterating Sony has to bring the house down, man. They do. When Sony has their next showcase, I'm not saying they have to reveal everything. I'm not saying show us every studio and every game and every plan you have between now and the year 2029. I'm not saying that. But I absolutely am saying that it's time to show up. It's time to actually do something exciting. Not something kind of exciting. Not something that's, oh, well, that's pretty good. No. You need to do what you've done so many times in the past, and for some reason you haven't done it anytime in the past. I would say you haven't done it in at least like 3 years. You need to come out and fucking blow people away. I'm telling you, have a 2015, 2016 E3 level showcase, and the PS5s they're going to sell. The PS5 is going to be just fine. I think Sony needs to be very careful I do, not to give in too much to this kind of fear that mongering that's going on right now, where there's a lot of talk about how the console is on its way out. The console market is dying, it's shriveling up, and it's like, it seems a bit unfair to jump to that conclusion during a time like this. Is the console market, as we just established with the sales, is it struggling? Yes. Are the numbers dropping? Yes. But what are the reasons for this? Well, as we already listed, economics, not just economic, the economy itself, inflation, and the fact that people are struggling, that is not helping. So right off the bat, that's working against it. Number two, this generation, I don't want to say this generation was destined to be screwed. I don't think it's that. I think the first half of this generation may have been destined to be screwed because of the pandemic, because it really just seemed like no matter what, no matter how normal and how hard these console manufacturers tried to stabilize it, it just was going to be all over the place. Cross-gen games because shortages, because we don't know when that's going to end. We have so many games that are in development and the pipelines are getting all screwed up because now suddenly everybody's working from home. I think that this was just going to create a messy beginning of this generation no matter what. And I think that's exactly what happened. I think that's why the showcases were all kind of weird in some ways. The showcases themselves weren't weird, but like the timing of them and like the marketing, everything just seemed like it was chaotic. And I feel like this has to be an endpoint, right? Like we're reaching an endpoint where it's like, all right, all of that has happened and it's over. So time to start again. I mean, what better time for Sony to basically try to quote unquote relaunch or soft relaunch the PS5 than with the upcoming PS5 Pro? With GTA 6 coming out, with all of these different studios that have been working on these games for years. This is the time. And I'm going to be paying so close attention, guys. I can't wait. Like, I'm counting down the days. I know it sounds silly, but it's because it's the only moment, other than if we have a showcase, where we're going to get any insight whatsoever into PlayStation's next 2 years, the future. And that is May 14th when they do their earnings. Like, they're going to have to talk. And they're going to have to let everyone, at the very least, they're going to have to let the stakeholders know, here's our plan. And I'm dying to know what that plan looks like, because I really hope that plan is not panic. I'm not going to say, well, obviously no plan is going to start with panic, but I hope that plan doesn't communicate a sense of panic of like, yeah, the console market's dying. Like PS5 sales are falling too far. Like, dude, I just hope somebody inside of PlayStation and inside of Sony understands, like, you're starting to see consoles drop because you are not doing exciting enough things. Like you need to get back. Like, look at the PS4 days, man. Look at what you did during that time. Look at the excitement you generated and look at the results. It shouldn't be that hard for somebody at Sony to come to that conclusion. I'm not saying it'll fix everything. I'm not saying, hey, if you have a great showcase, you're going to sell 180 million consoles and everything's going to be amazing. No, I'm not saying, but I am saying that, like, the PS5 has more potential, believe it or not, in my opinion, sales-wise, over the next 4 years than it did the last 4 years. I firmly believe that. There's no shortage, We're finally, well, God, I hope we are. We're past cross-gen. Now we're finally going to start seeing, we're going to have something like the PS5 Pro. We're going to start seeing some games really trying to push what they're able to do and what they're able to achieve. We're finally going to get some new games. Your daily plan is to panic? Damn. But this is exactly why Sony needs a big showcase. They need a big showcase because if they don't put on a good big showcase, their console sales are going to really start to drop rapidly. And that depresses me because I don't want to see the console market struggle like this. You know, we've talked extensively about the situation that's occurring with Xbox, and in my opinion, it's unfortunate. It's good and it's bad, but to me, it feels mostly bad just because it's like, dude, it feels like it should be different. It feels like the Xbox console should be succeeding. People should be talking about how excited they are to go pick up the new Xbox and to upgrade, and how excited they are to play these games that you can only get on that Xbox, or that are really, you know, creating that sense of, I don't know, camaraderie around the console space. You know, the excitement around the console space. I feel like that's gone with Xbox, and we are at this weird point where I think Nintendo's in the bathroom, dude. I know somebody's probably like, did I hear you right, MPG? What I mean by that is I think Nintendo's in the bathroom because I think they're nervous, dude. You know what I mean? It's like I think they're having like a nervous, upset stomach, and they're like, you know, they're taking a little bit longer. They're running a little bit late with their new console because they're nervous. They're afraid that they're going to mess up, and they're trying really hard to get it together and make sure they nail it. And that's not a bad. I'm not saying that's, you know, that means Nintendo's bad. I'm just saying I think they're running a little bit behind. They're a little bit nervous. Microsoft is gone, dude. Really? Hold on. You're saying Nintendo ain't nervous? I don't know. Are you sure though? I feel like they have to be. If they, I mean, maybe they. I didn't really think about that. A Nintendo that's not nervous, they have to be a little bit, right? I'm not saying they're scared, like they're terrified of that it's over. No, I don't mean like that. I mean they're just nervous of like they have to stick the landing, right? I really feel. Wow, you guys. So maybe my assessment is bad here. You guys are saying Nintendo definitely isn't nervous. All right. Maybe I'm wrong on this then. All right. Let me rephrase that then. Nintendo is running a little bit behind. They're just running a little bit late. I think the next Nintendo console was already supposed to be revealed, and it was supposed to come out sometime this year, but things got pushed back a bit, so they're a little bit behind. That's my assessment of Nintendo. Microsoft is gone, dude. I mean, they're technically still here, but they're like gone. You know, they are like, we can't do this. We're not going to do this. We're doing things our own way. Peace. And I feel like Sony's just kind of over here like, we can still do this, right, guys? Yeah. Like, I feel like Sony's in this weird position. And Jim Ryan did leave, literally. Jim Ryan's like, I'm out. Peace. Like, I sold as many PS5s as I could. I don't know what's happening next. I don't want to deal with what's happening next. I'm out. I'm going to drink my wine and retire. And I feel like right now, it's just like Sony is like looking around being like, we can still do this, right? Like it's right. And that's what's so fascinating to me about all of this is Sony has not, I don't know, man. They're not being clear. Yeah, I hope so, Irfan. I do. I really hope you're right about that one, because I want to believe that. That sounds very optimistic to me. But I'm thinking like, yeah, come on, you can't be that dense, right? But that's what's so I would say kind of strange to me at this point in time is I feel it's. See, you're saying can Sony single-handedly keep gaming alive? I don't look at it that way. I think that's a bit too much. Like, I'm not saying it's up to Sony to keep the industry alive. No, but I do think it's up to Sony to determine the future of the home console, the traditional home console. I do think that is on Sony's shoulders at this point because, again, Microsoft made it clear what the future of console gaming looks like to them, and that is it's just an extra thing for those who want it, and it's really not we just don't care anymore, like it's about publishing for us. And I feel like Nintendo is obviously completely dedicated to the console space, but it's not traditional. Nintendo is dedicated to this hybrid space, and it's a reason why. Let me ask you, this is a serious question. Do you think Nintendo is ever going to make a regular traditional home console again? I'm thinking the answer to that is hell no. I think for Nintendo, it's just hybrid or nothing going forward, because why would they make a traditional console again when they don't need to? And so I think it really is down to Sony here, where it's like, Sony, listen, you might be the last one to keep that traditional home console relevant. And that, to me, is why this next showcase and what Sony has to say about the console is so imperative and so critical. It's so important because what's it going to be, Sony? And we have Corey the Legend Landiga. He does it. He comes in. I see he has finally got his 12-month membership badge. Corey, awesome to see, dude. He comes in, he drops a 10 bomb on you guys, and he gets us over the mark, and Boss is elated. Boss, are you excited, bro? Are you pumped? Corey did it. We're at 28 members now.
Holy shit.
Hold on. Leia joins us. Leia said she wanted to come in as well. She was meowing at the door. Oh, wait, hold on. They look like they're about to battle again. Really appreciate that, though, Corey. You just brought us up to 28 members on the day, so crush the goal. Let me update this. We will feed the beast and continue our conversation. Yeah, shout out to everybody again showing support. I do rely on you guys to be able to keep doing these streams and to keep running this channel. There we go. Good stuff, bro. Good stuff. And we have a super chat from Josh Z. Thank you for that, buddy. He says they pushed the console to 2025 so that the launch lineup would be better. They have been the smartest this generation. Yeah, I did see something like that. I did see a report like that where it's like, yeah, that's about as smart as it gets, where it's like, we have a new console. Maybe we should make sure we have new games ready to release with that console. It's like, yes, I think it would be not disastrous, but yeah, it would definitely be questionable if Nintendo put out a Switch, 2, and they were like, yeah, sorry, we don't really have any games yet. I think it would still sell just based off of the inertia, but it's like, is that really maximizing the potential? I don't think so. All right, boss. Oh my God, he looks crazed. He looks insane. Chill. It's okay. Well, it's a little too much. There you go. Oh my God. If you guys could see the look in his eyes when I just looked down, he's like, give me the snacks. Meanwhile, Leia's just chilling back there. But yeah, I still think Nintendo's a little nervous. I'll be honest. Like, I'm not saying they're scared shitless or anything. I think they have a plan. And I think that plan is probably being driven by logic and just what makes the most sense. And I think they feel pretty confident in that plan. But I just think somewhere in the back of Nintendo's mind, there's always that reminder of like, don't forget the Wii U, And we've seen this happen. I think that is being smart, by the way. Having a little bit of nervousness, and that nervousness being driven by your previous failures and mistakes, I think that's smart. It's just like, just make sure you don't make the same mistakes, We've seen it happen with Sony, we've seen it happen with Microsoft, and we've seen it happen with Nintendo. And I think it's just wise for any console manufacturer, no matter how much success they're coming off of, to just keep in mind that it could go badly very easily just with a few critical mistakes, you know? So avoid those mistakes. And I think, I'll be honest with you, I think Nintendo's going to be just fine. I do. Chris, you're saying MBG Digital Foundry just posted a video asking why do Xbox games look better on PS5? Oh, man. Maybe I'll have to put that video on in a little bit. That actually sounds like an interesting video. I'm actually kind of curious what they have to say. They live or die by this success or their failure, says Josh. Yeah, I do think they'll be okay, though. I think as long as they have the basic understanding of the Switch 2, we talked about this, but it's reiterate it once again. Naming Switch 2, Super Switch 2, anything other than that, you're fucking up. I'm sorry. You're fucking up. You got to make it a very, very clear. Wow, he destroyed those things. You got to make it very clear that this is a next generation Switch. It's not optional. I mean, technically it's optional, but you know what I mean? Like they really have to convey, like, you got to upgrade, like now. Do that, have the games ready, have some good shows showing off the hardware, showing off those games, and I think you're fine. I think they're golden. I think it's all they have to do. I think that's it. And anything else they do can just be extra. I think, honestly, the biggest mistake Nintendo could make, and I'm a little bit afraid, and this is the only thing, is what they choose to name the next Switch. The naming of it is what I'm actually most nervous about, because it's like, that to me is one of those things where it's like, it's so obvious, it's so clear what you need to do, and I'm just so afraid that the most obvious thing is somehow going to be the thing that they miss. Like, they'll get everything else right, but they'll miss, like, how you definitely shouldn't name it the Nintendo Noodle. Yeah. Sony and Nintendo could be the ones, though. I think we could see Sony maybe take some notes from Nintendo a little bit. The Nintendo switcheroo. There you go. Michael says Nintendo is the worst namers in the world. Please, Nintendo, just Switch 2. That's it. That's all you got to do. You could even just name it Switch TWO. You know, you could spell out 2. Just please don't call it anything else. Or the Super Switch, I guess. I don't know, though. I feel like the Super Switch still would confuse people. I think like a lot of diehard Nintendo fans would be like, this is amazing. But the Switch U, there you go. The Switch U. That's the Switch Series X. But yeah, I want to see, you know, getting back to PlayStation, I want to see PlayStation bring back the excitement. That's as simply as I could put it. And I'll be honest, look, I don't know when Sony's going to announce their next showcase. I don't know when they're going to have any major announcement again. I know that we don't have any games lined up right now, and we are entering announcement and showcase season. And so until Sony does make an announcement of some kind, I'm going to apologize in advance if I start to sound a little too repetitive, where I'm basically just going to continue to reiterate over and over again that I want to see PlayStation bring back the excitement. I want to see Sony bring back the excitement, because the excitement, more than anything, has seemingly disappeared. The fanfare is minimal at best. And even right now, the thing that people are most excited about is something that still hasn't even officially been announced, that being the showcase itself. So it's not a doom and gloom scenario. It's just what I think is necessary in order for the second half of this generation to properly kick off. They need to go to shorter games, Michael. Leia, come here. I don't know. I want to say that that's probably not going to happen yet or anytime soon because I think what people maybe don't quite understand when they say that is they are not taking into account that most of the games we're going to see uh, announced this year, announced next year, the remainder of the games that are coming for this generation, they've they were greenlit years ago. They were already in development for years. So I don't think that they can just decide like, oh, you know what? Let's actually shorten it by like 15 hours. Let's cut it down. If we do go to shorter games, if we like go back to that, that's likely to be like a next generation thing. But I'm halfway in agreement. Like I think Sony would do well to have more shorter, cheaper games. I just want to let people know that data just recently leaked out, specifically for Sony, their best-selling games, how much money their games made digitally, and they were ranked by number based on how much money they made. You know what game was number one? Spider-Man Miles Morales, the $50 short AA game. I gotta let Leia out. She's I swear, I don't know what Leia's problem is. She scratches the door. She wants to come in. She's in here for 5 minutes and she's scratching the door. I want to get the hell out. It's like, I don't get it. But yeah, that is the game that made Sony the most revenue, at least based off of their digital data. Is Miles Morales AA? I mean, by today's standards, I would say it's considered AA. I would say Miles Morales is AAA. It would have been considered AAA like 10 years ago, I think. Or like 12 years ago. But you look at that. And then again, another piece of information that we're about to go over is you look at how well Helldivers 2 did. These are $40 and $50 games. These are smaller packages. So I think it's a matter of balance. I do. I don't think Sony should completely stop making big, massive AAA games. I think they absolutely need to keep making those games because I do think to an extent it's part of their identity. I do think that when you think about the next mainline God of War game, I'm not saying you expect that to be like 80 hours, but I think there is this expectation of like it's going to be at least like a 25 to 35 hour like huge game, right? With a lot of content. I do think that's the expectation, and I don't think there's anything wrong. I get what you're saying though, where you're talking about maybe these like massive open world games where like you need to spend 80 hours just to fucking experience like 2/3 of this game. It's like, yeah, I don't. Those games are always going to exist, though. You know what I mean? Because it just comes down to developers. There's so many different development teams. They're all going to make their own decisions on, I want to make this type of game. We want to make that type of game. And I just think it'll be important for Sony going forward, considering they have more studios than ever before, to just balance it out. I'm not saying Sony should go to each studio and tell them what they should or shouldn't make. I just think that they should be a little bit encouraging of, if a team is maybe trying to figure out what to do, guide them a little bit. So, you know what? Maybe you guys should make a smaller game. Maybe you guys should make a more AA game, something we can sell for 40 or $50. And I think that could be great. I think that could be a great thing for them to do. But if Naughty Dog says no, like we want to make a big AAA game, I think you definitely let them make that big AAA game. I don't think it would be wise to say no, don't do that. I mean, maybe they have to if it's a budget problem, but yeah, we do need to see that variety continue, and I think it would be wise for Sony to continue to experiment with different price points, just because it's been beneficial for them so far. Like the data literally says, like, yes, make some more $40 and $50 games, and you will make even more money. It would be crazy if they were like, nah, because it's like they're making money. Yeah, like the upcoming Venom game. I think that's a good idea. I'm excited for that. The Venom gameplay section in Spider-Man 2 was awesome. Like that was easily my favorite part of the game. It felt great. I liked the brutality of Venom, and I'm like, all right, yeah, give me a Venom game. Let's go. Well, let me see here. What else do I have to say about the showcase? Well, not a whole lot, honestly. Just to kind of recap this topic before we move on to the next one, I just want to reiterate that data has come out and it's revealed that console sales across the board are dropping. And the only way they're going to rise back up is by these companies generating excitement. Nintendo's going to be fine because they have a whole new generation they're about to kick off. So, it's understandable why the Switch is stopping and it's not selling that well anymore. It's because, it's lived its life cycle is up, and the next gen is starting for Nintendo. But when it comes to Sony, I think that this year, again, I don't know exactly what Sony's going to do, but the way I think Sony should do it in May, this month, have a big ass showcase, get people excited again, and then have a second showcase in September, PlayStation 5 Pro, unleash Mark Cerny onto the world once again, show off some more games, and at that point, that should be more than enough to give the PS5 console a big boost in just overall excitement and fanfare, and allow the next half of this console generation to really begin properly. That's how I think Sony should do it. And I hope they do. Because the way the numbers are looking right now, the way the data is looking, it's not looking ideal. It's not looking great. So, but we are going to move on to the next main topic of discussion here. So, guys, if you could do me a favor, hit that like button. We are just at about 200 likes. We're sitting at 198 likes. So we're easily going to crush 200 likes. Guys, I want to see if we can get to 250 likes. Maybe that's asking a lot, but we do have over 380 people here watching. So if we really wanted to, we could definitely crush 250 likes. I'd really appreciate that. It helps the streams tremendously. But the next main topic I want to talk to you guys about is Sony finding a staggering amount of success. And this also has led people once again to speculate how aggressively Sony is going to end up embracing PC in the coming years, in the coming months and coming years. We have Sean Mitchell here, longtime member with the super chat, saying, I'm just hoping for Xbox and PlayStation that they can do separate events for their indie games. I feel like all we see now is 70% indie, 30% AAA. Yeah, I get what you're saying, Sean. Sony has faced criticism in this department, specifically with stated plays, but the way I would look at it is you're less likely to see indie games at a proper showcase. Like a proper showcase, you will see way more AAA games, not just from Sony, but just generally speaking. So I think that, if I remember correctly, I think the balance between AAA games and indie games at last year's showcase was actually pretty good. But there are those times where it does feel like there are too many or it's taking up too much time. And this is why I will say, this is what stated plays are for, right? One of the most important things that Sony can do is, if you want to have a big emphasis on indies, do dedicated stated plays and let people know that this is mainly for indies, because you're going to get people who are interested in that tuned in. But at the same time, I think Sony, as well as Microsoft, they feel as though they have a responsibility where they have to kind of, act as the catalyst, in a way, for a lot of people to be exposed to these indie games. So I guess what I'll say to this, Sean, is my expectation for indies versus AAA games at a showcase, if we do get one this year. Did that news just come out? I gotta look into that in a moment. But my expectation is, I would say like 80, 20. Like 80%, like if it's like an hour and a half long show, 80 to 85% AAA, 15 to 20%, 20% at most indie. And I say this because, yeah, I do think the showcases, they do need to, I think it's unrealistic to expect that there's not going to be any indies at a showcase. There definitely will be, but that has to be a place where the main focus is AAA games. I do believe that. Let me check that really quick, though. You guys are saying, or at least somebody said that some news just dropped for. I'm not seeing anything. All right, never mind about that. The next main topic that I want to talk to you guys about is just how well Helldivers 2 has done. Look, I got to be honest, I feel like I'm a little bit burnt out talking about Helldivers just because I feel like it's kind of like, yeah, man, it's doing great, and that's just the way it is. However, this data that we're learning, or this data that we're now looking at, it reveals just how well exactly Helldivers has done. So, you're saying Shinobi 602 posted it? All right, hold on. Give me one sec. I know I'm a little bit all over the place right now. Oh, wow, okay. All right, hold on. Before we talk about Helldivers, this is posted 20 minutes ago from Shinobi 602. Sony and Apollo investment firm make joint $26 billion all-cash offer to acquire Paramount. Holy shit. $26 billion? Sony Pictures and private equity giant Apollo Global have submitted an all-cash $26 billion offer for Paramount Global Marketing, the second time the private equity firm has come in with a bid. Oh, wait, I can't read this. This is paywalled. Shit. That's all I'm able to read because it's paywalled and I'm not going to pay. Yeah. Oh, this is weird because I don't know. Like, what does this mean for PlayStation, dude? Like, this is seemingly real. Like, this is going to happen. Yeah, the entirety of Paramount, all of Paramount. Which site is it? I think it was Variety. More will come out soon. Just let it go. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It might not go through, but $26 billion. SpongeBob exclusive? Oh, shit. They will split it up with Apollo. They're looking to bolster their streaming services. Yeah, I'm thinking this is less to do with gaming. Like, I think gaming might be a small part of it, but I don't know. The implications run deep, considering how big Paramount is and how big and diverse Sony is. There's a lot they could do. Helldivers SpongeBob collab incoming. Oh my god. That's so funny to imagine. That'd be so weird. Cash offer is insane. Yeah, that is insane. Yeah. Naughty Dog Paw Patrol game? Oh man. New York Times is also reporting it. Okay. So second report. What do you think Paramount's going to take it? You think they're going to agree to it? Yeah, I know Sony has like Sony Pictures Core or like Sony Core or something like that. It's like their own streaming service. Neo, you're saying I'm 99% sure it has zero to do with PlayStation. I'll be honest, man. I get that vibe. I'm not saying that there won't be anything. I mean, an acquisition this big, I imagine there might be some crossover, but I just feel like this is not for PlayStation. Like, I wouldn't be like, look, I wouldn't be surprised if something like this happens and there's just like nothing about, like, there's like no mention of like PlayStation or how this is going to impact gaming. But I could be wrong. You're saying, well, that's not true. Some gaming IP will come with it. Yeah, but I guess what I mean is, like, I don't think. I don't know. To me, this is something that could go either way. You know? You're saying you think that Sony wants to become the biggest Hollywood production company now? SpongeBob Souls-like? Oh man, IP Gaming's really thinking outside the box here. King Jellyfish, first boss fight. Sony, hire IP Gaming. We'll see. I'm just gonna let you guys know right now. I want to make it in case it's not obvious. Like, I don't know that I have any excitement for this, to be totally honest, because I don't know what this means exactly for what I care about. You know? Like, I don't know how this changes PlayStation, if it changes PlayStation at all. I don't know the results. I know there are many implications. I don't even know exactly what they are. So Sony All-Stars 2 about to go crazy. There you go. There you go. Yeah. Let's go. That actually would be kind of wild, but we'll see. You just canceled Paramount Plus because you never watch it. Sony, whatever you do, just don't cancel Frasier. I want to see what they do with season 2. Corey says it's a little above our pay grade. Yeah. I'm just gonna leave it be. But I guess where we will leave it is, it seems like it actually is going to happen, and it'll probably be a process, as this stuff usually is. And I will say that if it does happen, it'll probably be quite some time till we know the full scope of like what this means, for Sony as a whole or for PlayStation. So I will just say this too, though. It's interesting to think that last year there was a lot of speculation that Sony was going to be one of the biggest players in gaming to, make a big gaming acquisition. And it's so funny to think that if a massive acquisition might be about to take place for $26 billion. And it's funny to think that it might have like minimal to do with gaming. Bit unexpected. Imagine Microsoft goes against it. Oh man, that would be very funny. Actually, I would laugh. That would be very funny. But I don't really know that. Yeah, I don't know what Microsoft could really do with Paramount, to be honest. I'm not sure that it would align as well. But anyway, if we get more info on that, I'm making videos as well as doing my streams. So this seems like one of those things where we could get new information anytime. I'll probably cover this in a video tomorrow or in the future. But let's get back onto the main topic here. Before I do that, though, I have figuratively literal here 7-month milestone chat saying, I think Spider-Man 1 was their best-selling game. Miles Morales was 5, I think. But you are right. The smaller games allow for a faster turnaround. RC Rift Apart was number 22. I don't know, man. I could have swore it was Miles Morales that was number 1. But you know what? You might be right, actually, because, yeah, the idea that Miles Morales made more money than Spider-Man 2018 probably doesn't add up there. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just, again, the general idea that Sony should be more willing to make these kind of... Yeah, I must have misread that. That's my fault. But they should be more willing to make these smaller games. I still stand by that because, like, you know, faster turnaround, like you said. We have Alex Mercer, the prototype member for 10 months, saying the next summer sale on PlayStation Store when I'm getting back into Modern Warfare 2 2022 and I need to renew my PS Plus sub. $80 is bogus, man. Also, happy summer. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the summer, man. Can't wait to see what goes down. I have no idea. I would just say be on the lookout. I don't usually cover when Sony does like PlayStation Store sales and stuff, but I know that they do like an annual summer sale. So I'm thinking, well, actually, if they do have a showcase coming, they might do something for that. But yeah, PlayStation Plus, $80 is fucking... Sony's out of their goddamn minds. I don't know what's going on, man. Although I will say the PlayStation Plus Essential lineup is getting a lot of praise. A lot of praise right now. GameCross is a YouTuber that covers sales. Yeah, I guess you could go check out GameCross. Corey says now remaster OG God of War titles for shorter games, and many will buy. Yeah, no, I don't think you're wrong, Corey. I think that would sell pretty well. I mean, of course, you'd have people complaining about the remasters, but because they are remasters. But yeah, that to me is probably an easier sell. Let's go over this information about Helldivers 2. Give me just a moment here to find the tweet. I thought I had the tweet up. Okay, here we go. So, just to convey how successful Helldivers 2 has been, it is the 7th highest grossing game ever released by Sony. I want you to think about that. I mean, really think about that for a moment. The 7th highest grossing game of all time that Sony's ever released. So that means it's up there with Spider-Man, God of War, Uncharted, Gran Turismo, and there's probably one more ahead of it. What would be ahead? Who am I missing? Maybe Horizon? And that's not even 3 months, by the way. The data is from 2 months. Number 7 in 2 months' time. The Last of Us. There we go. Yeah, I knew it was something like that. So it's The Last of Us. Think about that. Dude, this game, Helldivers, is sitting in that pantheon now. It's like, holy shit, dude. And again, that's in 2 months' time. So when we were hearing rumors that Helldivers sold or was about to sell 10 million, people were like, no way. Oh yeah, no. It's pretty clear that I think it definitely passed 10 million at this point. But what makes it even more interesting, and I have to talk to you guys about this because there's still this ongoing conversation about what is Sony going to do with PC? And I don't know why there's still so much arguing online. I guess maybe it's because it's an unknown and everybody wants to kind of hedge their bets, but it seems pretty clear. Look at this. NPD's Matt Piscatella, he says that PC has been a huge part of the success of Helldivers 2 in the US, with PC, Helldivers 2 is already the 7th highest grossing Sony published game in history. Without PC, it would not currently rank among the top 20. He goes on to say that just because I'm highlighting the success of the PC SKU here doesn't mean I'm saying that PlayStation SKU is not also successful. He goes on to explain that the PlayStation version is also just as successful. But there's no way around this, guys. There's no way around this fact and how this highlights, I think, something that, look, I don't think this means Sony's going to just fully embrace PC, but this is insane. This is insane. If Sony didn't release Helldivers 2 on PC the day it came out on PS5, it would not have cracked the top 20 in terms of the most, how much money it made. It's on PC day one. It's at number 7. PS5 and PC combined brings it to number 7. That's, yeah. I mean, if anything, it highlights that Sony absolutely made a smart call when they were like, at least for our live service games, day one on PC, that's wild. So I don't, again, I don't know what Sony's plans are exactly, other than we do know every live service game going forward will be day one on PC. But I do wonder if this does have any impact on their single player games. I do wonder if Sony is looking at this and thinking, well, damn, if Helldivers 2 can do that well on PC, what would happen with our single player games? It is a bit risky. Again, it leads us down the rabbit hole of that conversation we've had time and time again of the risk versus reward factor of dropping single player games day one. I saw people kind of having an argument about this. Not an argument, but I saw some people reacting to this and basically saying this right here is why day and date needs to happen for Sony. And again, here's what I'll say. And I actually responded to somebody in a video that I put out yesterday. Somebody left a comment on my video yesterday, and I'm paraphrasing, although I could probably just bring it up and read it to you guys so I could not paraphrase. Just give me a second. This person says, if Sony wants those console numbers to go back up, oh, sorry. No, that's the wrong one. I fully agree with that person. They were just saying they need a good showcase. Where did this person's comment go? I thought this comment was at the top. Okay. So this comment has 37 upvotes. So a lot of people agreed with it. And this person says, PlayStation needs exclusives, so they need to stop porting the PC, except for live services. Or they might as well go third party and quit console like Xbox. And I replied to this person by saying, I agree they need exclusives if they want to maximize their own ecosystem's potential/profit. But it should be clear to everyone by now that the gaming industry is changing in a big way. I don't know what will happen, but I would recommend to people, expect anything. And that's that is exactly my takeaway from this is I'm going to give a suggestion to everybody here, and it's just a suggestion so that you don't fall into a trap. Anybody who comes out and says at this point in time, PlayStation will not put their single player games day and date onto PC, don't listen to them. Also, don't listen to anybody who says they will definitively. Don't listen to anybody who's saying anything as if for some reason, they're part of the board of Sony and they actually just walked out of that meeting and they're now telling you what's going to happen. The best thing you could do is accept that you don't know what's going to happen and that anything could happen. Things could stay exactly as they are now, and Sony could be perfectly happy and say, hey, we can have it all. We can still have our console exclusives for as long as we want for our single-player games, and we can drop our live service games day one on PC and get the best of both worlds. Or, and I want to remind people that the head of Sony right now, the head of PlayStation right now, is the CFO, the guy who handles the money for all of Sony. What could be happening inside of Sony, another possibility, is the CFO is looking at this data and saying, holy shit, we need to immediately start dropping our games on the PC right away. Right away. And that's going to happen in the next year. Or it could be something nobody's thought of. But I really do think that there is a small level of denial. I mean, maybe it seems small to me, but maybe it's larger on like Twitter or something. But there is like this level of denial where it does kind of remind me a little bit of when we were talking about Xbox going third party, where like there was this palpable sense of denial from a group of people online where they were like, no, they're not. No, they're not. And it's like, guys, it's right fucking there. Like, it's in front of your face. How can you honestly not even consider it being a possibility, you know? And then it happened. And then the meltdowns happen. And that's why, like, dude, it's going to be so stupid if the day comes, and it might come sooner than we think. It's going to be so, I'm not looking for it. Like, I might just, like, disappear for a little bit, for, like, a couple days. Probably not. But it's going to be so dumb if Sony does announce, like, let's say, Death Stranding. Maybe they'll start with Death Stranding 2. They'll start with Death Stranding 2 and they'll announce it's releasing on PC the same day as PS5. I just feel like I'm going to want nothing to do with that the day that's announced because people are going to act so shocked. You know what I mean? We can speculate all we like, but we need to accept that Sony's stratagems are supposed to be above our pay grades. No joke. I love how you said stratagems. That's amazing. Yes, you don't know the combinations to Sony stratagems, bro. You don't know how much they cost. You don't know what kind of stratagems they're packing. But I'm just saying, dude, like, people are going to act so shocked. And I just want people to really listen to what I'm saying right now, where it's like, I don't know if they're going to. I'm not going to sit here and tell anybody, don't worry, Sony's not going to release their single-player games day one on PC. I'm also not going to say they definitely are going to release their games day one on PC. I don't feel like it's necessary for me to hedge my bet because who the fuck cares? What am I going to win? You know what I mean? There's nothing to win here. It's just, I look at this data that just came out for Helldivers and what this data translates to, and this is the important part. If you want to follow anything, just follow the money. I'm not saying it'll lead you to the exact answer, but it can get you close enough to it. This data translates to Sony making a fuck ton more money off of Helldivers 2 releasing day one on PC. Sony, just like any other corporation, wants more money. So I am not going to be surprised if this is the path Sony ends up going down, because I'm not saying that it couldn't backfire. It could. I mean, look, man, it's not a guarantee. It's just not that if Sony were to release a game like Death Stranding 2 or Wolverine day one on PC, it's not a guarantee that it would make anywhere near this amount of money. Because, it could be a little bit more nuanced. It could be that, yeah, a game like Helldivers 2 actually thrives big time on PC, maybe even more so than PS5. But a game like Death Stranding 2, it's going to do okay on PC. It's not going to do like Helldivers 2 numbers. but it'll actually do better on PS5. It could be a situation like that, you know? I'm not saying these are completely different audiences, but they still are different platforms. And you know, they're kind of attuned to slightly different things. So I just hope that people look at this data and at least understand what they're looking at. That's all. Because I really don't, I'm just not looking forward to that day if it comes where you're going to see people actually melting down and it's going to be like, where have you been this whole time? It's why I was so confused to see people melting down when we saw the Xbox. Well, to be fair, that was a little bit different. The meltdowns occurred with the Xbox situation because it went from 0 to 1,000 like instantaneously, where it's like, oh, everything's going to PlayStation, you know? Actually, you're saying if Sony does that, then I'm out. It's a middle finger to those who committed to the ecosystem. You definitely, I mean, there will be a lot of people like that. But here's the question though, actually. And I think this is just the best way to kind of frame it because it's the most realistic way. Is it's like, you know, where do you go then? Like what? Because think about it. It kind of is a middle finger to an extent. It depends on how you look at it. It kind of is a middle finger where it's like, we kind of told you were going to get exclusives, but now we changed our mind and you're not. And for all we know, this is why you bought the console. So it's like, yeah, that's kind of a middle finger. Like maybe you should start that next gen, like and start from the beginning so people know whether they want to invest in your console or not for exclusives. But on the other hand, it's like, I feel like Sony would take the same path that Microsoft has, where they're like, but we don't care because we know you'll still play our game. Or if you don't, we know a lot of other people will. And I'm not saying that that's a great answer, but I just think it might be the reality of it, where it's like, it does like that does worry me because again, when we look at the situation that Microsoft is in, the situation Microsoft is in is their console's practically dead. It's like it's nearly on life support, man. And I feel like what's sad about it is one of the reasons why it's nearly on life support is because Microsoft at some point kind of did that. Like there was no way around it. They were just like, we are not prioritizing the console install base anymore. Like they say shit. Like Microsoft has said over and over again, like we appreciate and we care about the console fans, but when the console players ask, okay, like, but what do we get? You know, like we paid all this money and we invested in your ecosystem. What do we get as a reward? Like what's the reason for us to be here? And Microsoft's like, well, for now you get some games, but they might not be. You know what I mean? It's just created this really, I don't know if awkward is the right word to use, but just this really, I would say clear cut, but also like, I think it depends on who you ask. In some cases, it seems pretty clear cut. In other cases, it seems kind of messy and blurry, where to me, it seems clear cut that Microsoft is just communicating to the fan base like, we love you, but we just don't love you enough to make you the priority because we just love money too much and sales, and we love our shareholders more than you. So, sorry. But on the other hand, I feel like, you know, there's still kind of people out there that are like, well, Hellblade's not going to PlayStation and Starfield still hasn't went to PlayStation. It's like, but guys, is that really like what's worth holding on to at this point? You know? And I think that's why, if we circle all the way back to the beginning of this stream, I think that's why Jez Corden probably has the attitude he does, where he's like, yeah, I'm just expecting everything to go. And that's the smartest attitude to have, because it's like, who the fuck knows, dude? Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the question, right? If you're not going to have any exclusives, then why offer a console? Well, I guess my best answer to that would be it really again, this is where we just don't know, man. Like I do kind of wish Sony would just be more transparent where I think Sony is only willing to do something like this if they agree, if they are in complete agreement with Microsoft, where Microsoft has planted their flag, dude, and they made it crystal clear like the future is not the console. That's done. It's still here, but the future is pretty much everything but the console. The future is publishing. The future is games everywhere, no matter where you are. And Sony has to decide if they agree with that or not. Or they could kind of do what they're doing now, where they're sitting on the fence, right? Where, yeah, we agree with Helldivers 2, but we're not fucking putting Wolverine Day 1 on PC. What are you out of your goddamn mind? Like, that's kind of where I think Sony is not sure themselves. I think Sony is in this kind of position. I think Sony's in the awkward position where they want to. Well, let's make something clear here. In the long, like Sony does, I know that this is going to be fucking brutal for some PlayStation fans to hear. And to be clear, plans could change. But when we got that Insomniac leak, I just want to remind people that one of the things that leaked out was Sony's roadmap for PlayStation Plus. And that roadmap for PlayStation Plus was pretty much what we see with Microsoft, where they were like, we're going to put PlayStation Plus, like phase 3 or 4 or something, is we're going to put PlayStation Plus everywhere. And so, at the very least, there is this kind of plan, this long-term plan to, I don't want to say shed the console, because that sounds a little too brutal. I don't think Sony wants to shed the console, because I think the console makes them the most amount of money, obviously. But to certainly go well beyond the console in that, like, we're making a lot of money now, but we want to make all the money then. And I don't know. You just got to wonder, like, you got to wonder what the plan really is, the long-term plan, that is. Or we got to wonder what Sony's thinking, you know? Because they're not really making it clear. Corey's saying boss just takes a shower in front of it. Was he cleaning himself? And actually, you're saying I have no problem with sports games and live service games being day one, but anything else, at least 2 years. Well, I do want to make it clear. I'm telling people to just be ready for anything and to not put your eggs in any basket per se, because those eggs might get crushed, dude. You know, like Sony is not our friend, just like Microsoft isn't, just like Nintendo isn't. Like, these are corporations and they're beholden to the shareholders, and they're going to do whatever they deem necessary. They will sacrifice a certain customer base if it's in the name of greater profits for the shareholders. And that sucks. And I do agree that it is mostly driven by greed. And no matter how nice a company wants to come off, like, we're your friend and we're doing this for you. Like, no, you're doing it for shareholders. It's okay. We know how this works. Just be real, just give it to us straight. But giving my own personal opinion here, my own personal feelings, I do hope Sony doesn't dive in head first. Not because I don't want to see more people play games. I'm not against that. I'm really not. Like, it does not bother me at all. Why would it that Helldivers 2 launched day one on PC? And I don't even listen. If we found out that PC is responsible for most of the success of Helldivers, good shit, dude. Like, why would I be upset about that? My whole thing is I just don't want to see, because I do have this kind of fear, and it's this fear that the console is going to be made irrelevant by the actual companies that made them in the first place. Like, basically, I have this fear that Sony's going to end up like Microsoft. That's essentially what it comes down to. You know, I'm afraid that Sony is going to turn into Microsoft if they're not careful. Where we are watching right now, the complete undoing and unwinding and laying to rest, as dramatic as that sounds, we are watching the undoing and the laying to rest of the core Xbox fan that was and fan base that was built by Microsoft themselves. Microsoft built that fan base. They built that camaraderie. They centered everything around the console. And I don't fault them for that. They did this because they wanted to win that market share and be a dominant console leader. Boss, can you figure out what you're doing, bro? But now, as Microsoft has taken over the actual Xbox and gaming division more and more, and it becomes more shareholder driven and taken more seriously, it has become. I'm trying to think of the best way to describe this. It is about the games, and I don't want to mince words here. Where like you can absolutely be a fan of Xbox right now and Xbox games and what they have going on. But I think that there's no denying that in undoing that console ecosystem and basically winding that down, there's a specific word I'm looking for and I can't quite find it. Here's the best way I could maybe describe it. People have talked about console fan bases in a mostly negative context. And I understand why this is. The console wars, the toxicity of it. And I'm going to read these super chats in just a minute, guys. And I get that, because that stuff absolutely exists. It can get way too toxic. It can get ridiculous. And there are a lot of people who are just totally nonsensical about it. But I think what is missing sometimes when we talk about console fan bases and what the console ecosystem leads to is it can lead to a very, I think, positive type of fandom and fanfare and excitement and something that feels wholly unique. I think that's the word I'm looking for. Something that feels wholly unique and kind of like you're part of something in a way. This is nothing new. This is kind of how it's always been, and this is the way it is with a lot of things. And I don't fault anybody who kind of bought, like, part of the reason they bought into it is like, well, I bought an Xbox. Like, I guess I'm an Xbox gamer now, like I'm playing some of their exclusives, and you just kind of feel like you're part of something. And it makes you feel like, again, it's the whole point of exclusive, like an exclusive thing, right? Like you bought into it. And when you're conditioned, like for years, for like generations, that's how this works. That's what you can come to expect. To then just suddenly, actually, never mind. That's done now. It makes all those people who kind of congregated together and like, again, were there toxic circles? Are there toxic circles? Yes. But there are also a lot of positive ones where it is just about, it's not about console warring and, shitting on people. It's just about having a good time and having that kind of shared, like, hey, I game on Xbox, you game on Xbox, I game on PlayStation, you game on PlayStation. And we kind of, again, there's this sense of identity, I guess you could say, driven by the brand itself and the and what they bring to the player base. Once that's gone, it removes that aspect. And so I don't fault anybody for being kind of just disappointed in that, like, man, that's gone now. And you also do lose that sense of competitiveness as well. I saw somebody left a comment on one of my videos, I think last week. They're like, man, it sucks that I think they were being half joking, but they were like, it sucks that the console wars are over. I know everybody said they were like toxic, but really, most of the time people were just having a little bit of fun. It wasn't meant to be taken too seriously. And I kind of get what they were saying, where it's like, yeah, there's layers to it, right? Like there's kind of the more artificial, or not artificial, superficial layer where it is just about the hyper competitiveness of it, kind of like, how sports fans maybe would kind of go back and forth a little bit about, this team's better than yours and your team sucks and blah, blah. And then, of course, just like in sports as well, people take shit too far and it's like, bro, it's not real, like we don't have to make it personal. And people do definitely make it personal. But I guess what I'm just describing here is there is a sense of uniqueness that comes along with the console experience. And I understand that there are a lot of people who don't care for the console experience. They prefer PC. They see consoles like it's for kids and it's a joke and whatever. Like, I'm not here to convince that person that they're wrong. I'm just okay. Like, you have your preference, I have mine. But I don't think that takes away the truth that there is a sense of uniqueness there. I mean, think about it. People who talk so positively about PC, like PC has unique aspects as well. In fact, those unique aspects are what people like about PC and why people talk about PC in such a positive way where they're like, I love PC gaming. Why? And I bet they have these list of things where it's like, because I could do this, this, and that, and I get that, and this. And it's like, that's why I like it. That exact same logic applies to consoles, just different categories, just different things listed off. And that's why I don't understand why people act like it's so hard to understand why the notion of the console becoming irrelevant and possibly even going away at some point, if not going away, just being totally inconsequential, it will lose more and more of those bullet points as to why I like this and why I feel like it's unique, you know what I mean? And why I keep coming back to it and why I enjoy it. And I don't know, maybe that will lead to some kind of future gaming utopia where like nothing will necessarily be unique, but everything will be shared and the same. I don't know. Anyway, we have Alan Al Ghul here, member for 10 months. He says, MBG, sorry, but if Sony's planning on making new consoles, that will never happen. Putting day one on PC, putting single-player games day one, putting single-player games day one on PC. Well, look, you could, again, Alan, I can't listen to you, dude, because you're saying that will never happen. How do you know that? I mean, your logic might, I agree with it to an extent, right? Because I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, well, if Sony wants to sell consoles, then why would they do that? That's probably going to convince people to not buy their console. You might be right, but I don't necessarily know that will stop Sony. So this is, again, believe it or not, like this kind of is why I have this fixation on the PlayStation Showcase, because I feel as though Sony has to reestablish a clear line of communication of like, hey guys, here's Ghost of Tsushima 2, here's Wolverine gameplay, here's more Death Stranding 2. Oh, here's Naughty Dog's new IP, by the way, new single player game from them. PS5. No mention of PC, just PS5. Do we know that these games will eventually come to PC? Yes, but we have no fucking idea when. What we do know is PS5. I want to know if the PlayStation 5 is still going to be of the utmost priority for Sony. And I get that I could make assumptions. I could say, of course it will be. Yeah, of course it will be. Why wouldn't it? And I could listen to what Sony says to their shareholders. They say, yeah, we're still putting focus on the PlayStation. That's all fine, well, and good. But it's like, okay, but show me. Show me. Because now more than ever is the time to show. No joke. Like, now more than ever, because think about it, like things are fucking changing overnight practically now in the console space. We are seeing things happen that were, I don't say never thought possible, but like truly nobody expected or very few people ever expected. And they're just happening now. So it really does come down to like, all right, show me so I can know for sure. And that's all. People, I think, are always going to have, there's always going to be a lot of people out there that I think are just kind of shitty towards the console experience. And I don't understand why. I mean, my best guess is that it's because sometimes maybe they encounter some really toxic people, but not everybody's toxic. Not everybody's nasty, you know? We have John Renzi here. Thank you for the super chat, buddy. You're saying, not sure if it's been mentioned yet, as I'm about an hour and a half behind on the stream. But just seen that Sony and Apollo making a $26 billion cash bid for Paramount. Thoughts? Well, John, I'm not going to give my thoughts because you might actually be at this part of the stream now if you're behind. I did talk about it pretty extensively. So, but just for the sake of answering your super chat, because I feel bad, I think it's going to happen. I don't know what it means. Like, I don't feel comfortable trying to speculate, like, Sony just bought Paramount. What does it mean? What next? Like, I don't know. Fuck if I know. As Corey put it, bro, that's above my pay grade. We'll see. I just know that they spent a lot of money, and I'm sure that they have their reasons for doing so. That's the best answer I could give for now. If Sony converts its user base to PC, they will be missing out on that 30% cut they get on their PlayStation Store sales. Seems dangerous. That's the thing, Angry Whale Watcher. See, that's why when I answered that person, I said I do agree that exclusives. Listen, the purpose exclusives serve. I'm not saying they are universally beneficial, but it's kind of twofold. And it really, one is purely objective, the other is more subjective. The first benefit that exclusives serve is purely for the publisher, for the platform holder, I mean, that being Sony. It's exactly what you just said. And it's why I agree that if Sony wants to get their numbers up and they want to keep those numbers up and they want to make the most amount of money / profit, you need to bring people to your store, to your platform, to your console. You do that through exclusives. Now, the second benefit, this one is more subjective, and this is kind of what I talk about when it's like, let me ask you, maybe this is, I'm going to figure out the right way to word this. If a person buys a PlayStation console, and their reason for buying it is because they see, wow, this new Wolverine game. I love Wolverine, and this game looks awesome. Or Spider-Man 2. I love Spider-Man. And they buy the console, and that was their reason for buying it. You know, is it wrong for that person to feel as though I'm trying to think of the best way to word this. Like, is it wrong to feel that like your console, your experience on the PlayStation console is unique because I got to play this game that Sony made exclusive to this console? Do you see what I'm saying? Or maybe I'm overthinking it where it's like, no, your experience will automatically be unique because you can only play it on that console. For example, when I think of the PS3, do you know what game I think of? There's just like one game that comes to mind. Metal Gear Solid 4. And like those two things are like tethered together. I mean, they still are today, which is crazy. But those two things are so tethered together where I can't think of one without the other. And because of that, to me, the PS3, like it's when I think of that console, it's like there's something incredibly unique about that PlayStation 3 experience and what it is. Well, I mean, don't get me wrong, like the UI and stuff was unique, but I'm saying it's because, dude, that's where I experienced Metal Gear. Like, that's the console that delivered Metal Gear for Solid 4. And somebody could say, well, that's not fair. Everybody should play it. But it's like, that doesn't matter to me. And I just don't see it that way. You know, like the way I see it is, but, you know, the game, I was told that this game was releasing for PS3 and I would have to buy a PS3 to play it. And then I got a PS3 and I played it. And I also discovered the PS3 is a great console while I was playing this game. And it's a great, you know what I mean? Like, there was no loss there, I guess, for me. And that's why I guess that's how I view this stuff, man. Like, that's how I view this stuff, where I understand, like, we are at a different time in gaming and people now more than ever are like embracing this notion. And it's especially driven by what Microsoft is doing, where it's like, games should be everywhere. There should be no exclusives. But I just can't get behind it because it's like, well, I just don't think that's ever going to happen, really. Like, there always has to be a platform. There always will be a platform. Even if eventually PlayStation fades away and Xbox fades away, something else will rise up to take their place, because there will always be storefronts and there will always be platforms to facilitate these storefronts. And I think there's always going to be an inherent need to differentiate those storefronts. And for these, whatever company is behind that storefront, raking in the majority of that profit, they're going to find any way they can to think, how do we make our storefront unique? How do we convince people to shop here and not there? And I think as long as that exists, and I think that will always exist, there's going to be an inherent need for some type of exclusivity, for some type of, like, we have this thing that they don't, that's why you're going to want to come shop here. You get all the regular stuff plus this extra thing that's just ours. And I think it's very bizarre that people are adopting it's bizarre, but it's not. Let me rephrase that. It's not bizarre. I actually, psychologically speaking, it makes total sense. People are so quick to embrace what Microsoft is doing and say that is better. Like, yeah, games should be everywhere. Like, exclusives shouldn't exist, so everybody can enjoy every game. It's like, okay, yeah, but that's not real. Like, that will never be, like, that reality of everything everywhere will never exist. But truly, like, it won't. For Microsoft, it could, but it's never going to be like, okay, again, exclusivity in gaming is dead. Everything is everywhere. You're saying I don't know that. Well, I'll say 99% chance. 99% chance it will never be that way, because that does sound like a fantasy world. Because what that implies is that somewhere along the lines, even if we're talking like 40 years down the line, way into the gaming industry future, who knows if we'll even be playing games at that point, that implies that that some company isn't going to come along and just be like, we can make exclusives. We can buy exclusives. We can even just have some exclusive content. We could, you know what I mean? It's like, and that's all we need to do to make our thing more appealing than theirs. It will never go away, dude. It just won't. But the question will be how much that, I guess this is what could make it an unknown, right? Like, you're saying, I don't know if that will happen. There could be, and I think this is a slim chance. It's not impossible. I will say it's not impossible. There could be a slim chance that these corporations and these companies, they all are making so much money from their storefronts that they actually just don't give a shit. That is a possibility. I don't know how likely that is, because it means that greed won't actually be the driving force, which is hard to imagine. But these companies could all just be so comfortable. They all have their own storefronts. They all have their own platforms, and they're all doing so well that it like actually doesn't matter. Like they just don't care. That's what Microsoft is doing. And if you think about it, why is Microsoft doing that? Why can Microsoft have that energy of we just don't give a shit anymore, man? Buy our fucking game on our store, buy it on PlayStation, we don't care. Because do you see how much money they're making? Do you see how much money they have? It's like, yeah, I guess if the only gaming if the only gaming companies around that offer actual viable platforms are like multi-trillion-dollar powerhouses that don't have to do a damn thing and they're raking in, billions in profit like it's nothing. Sure. Maybe then it won't matter. But I always think that there's going to be this need at some point down the line, there will be a need for uniqueness. And the easiest way to make your platform, to make your storefront unique is to offer something the competitor doesn't have. So we'll see. I don't know. I get a bit too in the weeds with this, but I don't even know how I got on this topic. I guess I got on this topic because talking about Helldivers on PC. Let me back up here a little bit. We have Chris Brown here with the super chat saying Apple can be a serious competitor with their iPhones in the future. Yeah, for sure. I'm kind of I think that's if you think about like Apple, right? Like why hasn't Apple gotten more seriously involved in gaming? I think that's kind of, again, that's why like Apple's in this position where they're just like, is like, do we need to, like, do we really need to get competitive with these gaming giants suddenly, or are we just good where we are? It's like, yeah, you're pretty good where you are, but in the future that could change. And imagine that. Like, I'm just saying, imagine, not that this would happen, but well, then again, I guess in the distant future, anything could happen. You're saying they could get competitive in gaming with their iPhones. Let's down the line, consoles. Suddenly, we are easily getting PS5 performance, easily, like minimum PS5 performance on the latest iPhones. Imagine if Apple decided we want to money hat a game for our own storefront, a AAA game, because we can easily run that AAA game on our phone. Think about that. I know that sounds unrealistic right now, but we saw that Capcom got Resident Evil 4 Remake running, right? What if way down the like 10 plus years from now, at some point, Apple's like, you know what? We want to pay Capcom however much it costs. We want to lock down the next mainline Monster Hunter or Resident Evil game just for our iPhone in our storefront. I mean, you see what I'm saying? It's like, would people hate Apple for that? Yes. But would it work and get people fucking, to be like, well, I guess I got to buy the latest iPhone? I don't know. It's a little bit different because iPhones are not consoles and they're more expensive. But I'm just saying, it's like, I don't know that I would want. See, that's where it's like, oh, we all like exclusivity, right? Well, not everybody, but we all say exclusives are great until they're not. You know what I mean? Exclusivity is great until it's not. So I understand that, like, it's why I said it's subjective, where it kind of comes down to what you prefer. It kind of comes down to what you prefer and whether you feel you're in alignment with how a company is going about doing their business. Because as soon as it changes, exclusives drive innovation. I agree to an extent, yeah. I don't know. I get tired. I mean, we're probably having the conversation right now because there's just not much else to really discuss, since we kind of let that sink in. iPhone has Death Stranding and Xbox doesn't. What? Actually says exclusives are great and always will be. Yeah, I can't shed that feeling, dude. I'll be honest with you. Like even for Microsoft, like it's great in a way where it's like, wow, they're bringing their games to PlayStation, but I don't know, dude. It's just the Xbox showcases from here on out are just not going to be as interesting anymore because all I'm thinking, and it's not a bad thing, right? Because it's like, oh wow, what I'm seeing, I might be able to play on my PS5, but there was some added kind of like excitement. Again, I guess that's just what it comes out. There's just like this added excitement where it's like, yo, is Microsoft about to show me a game so fucking good? It's gonna make me and everybody else be like, yo, I gotta go fucking buy an Xbox. Because that's the thing. It's like, man, a game's gotta be so fucking good to make you do that. And that's what makes me a little bit. I'm not saying they won't still try to bring that heat, but it's like, even if they do bring that heat, it's like not even directed the same way anymore. You know what I mean? And I think that right there, I think what I just described actually may perfectly encapsulate that unique feeling that I've been talking about. And maybe it is going away. Maybe it will come back, but I think everybody who's experienced what I just discussed there knows the feeling I'm talking about. That feeling of, serious, two major competitors fighting for you, and they're both going to put on their best fucking performance. And ideally, you end up buying both, but you tune in knowing that they don't know if you're going to buy both, and they want you to pick them over the other one. And that is what's exciting. To me, that's always been a really exciting part of all of this, and it just feels like that's starting to kind of fade away. Better switch to football in that case. Maybe Hellblade 2 is that good. But you see what I'm saying, Jack? Like, dude, I'm back and forth as to whether or not I'm going to play Hellblade. Like, I do want to play Hellblade. I don't know what's going to be going on May 21st. Like, if that's showcase week, I'm not playing Hellblade, bro. Like, I'm going to be too immersed in what's going on at that time with PlayStation to even have the attention span to sit down and play Hellblade, even though it is a short game. But I'm like, but another reason is I'm just thinking, like, dude, what if Jez Corden is right? What if he is right? And everything is coming to PlayStation. Like, would it be better to just wait? I don't know. Like, it's one of these things I'm torn on. And it's crazy. Dude, I know this sounds insane, but I'm telling you, like, if Microsoft didn't start porting their games to PlayStation, like, I would seriously be considering right now buying an Xbox for Hellblade. It sucks that they're not doing a physical version, but I would, like, this is the first game that I've seen from them in years that actually, I know it's on the short side, but yeah, like, I might do it. But now I'm just like, well, I may already have a console that is going to be able to play Hellblade 2. Yeah, just play it on PC. I might. Yeah, I'm thinking about it. I'm definitely thinking about it. But that's what I mean. You see, like, that right there is that's what used to make shit so fun. I don't know. Maybe I'm a weirdo. Maybe we're all weirdos. But that to me was the fun part, is like, yo, is Hellblade the game? Gonna go buy that nice new shiny Xbox console, huh? Actually says, you're insane, MBG. Dude, I sit here long enough. I sit here talking long enough. Yeah, I start to go a little bit insane. Chad A, sorry to keep you waiting, buddy. You're saying Microsoft treating X like a side project means they will drop it as soon as it ceases to be profitable. Well, yeah, I don't know, man. I get where you're coming from. Microsoft has shown that they kind of do that. Like, they've done that literally exact thing in the past. But I'm a little bit hesitant to believe that only because they made such a massive, colossal investment with Activision Blizzard that it's like, I don't think that's something you can just drop. And I also think it's something that you don't want to drop. Here's what I think is more likely than that, Chad. I think it's more likely. Well, I don't even want to say it's likely, but think about what you're saying here, that they'll drop it as soon as it ceases to be profitable. You have to ask yourself, what would cause it to stop being profitable? So I don't think it's more along the lines of dropping it as much as it's what they would be dropping is the ball itself, where you bought one of the most profitable, the biggest and one of the most profitable third-party publishers in the industry. Don't fuck it up and just let the money flow in. What happens when they fuck it up? And it's like suddenly Call of Duty is shit now and nobody likes it anymore. And Blizzard is fucking up. And if all that were to happen and suddenly they're not profitable, they're not making money, they're losing money, yeah, that would be disastrous, dude. That would end Xbox for sure. But it would take a lot for that to happen. Like the level of incompetence would have to be so great that it's like, wow. Like you actually bought Activision Blizzard and destroyed them. Like you made them worse than they already were. That would take some talent, if you get what I'm saying. All right. Got a little bit off track there with our well, not off track, but we really just went in a couple of different directions with that conversation about Helldivers. But to get back to the main point, Helldivers 2 is a mega colossal success for Sony, and a big part of its success is PC. And so I think it would be wise for everybody who pays close attention to PlayStation and Sony to just keep that in mind going forward. Not necessarily assume anything definitively, but just be ready for anything. Be ready for things to stay the same. Be ready for changes to be made at any moment. Just expect the unexpected. All right, let me see where we're at here. Oh, wow. Okay. There was this article I wanted to read, but it's also paywalled, so sorry about that. Not going to be able to do that either. I think that's going to do it for all of our topics. Where are we at with time? So we're over the 3-hour mark. All right. I am going to be doing a members lounge today. So what we can do, MBG just proved why you need exclusives. Helldivers being $40 has not factored into its success. Oh, I think it has for sure. I mean, you're doing like an eye roll emoji there, but I think it definitely is a big reason for its success. MBG, remember when Arrowhead CEO said his dream was to be on par with some of PlayStation's biggest games? He did it. Yeah, that's true. That's true. So what we'll do is I think I'll keep this stream going for another 10, maybe 15 minutes at most. We'll do like a last call for members type situation. I'll try to do that closer to the end of the streams, especially when I'm about to do a members lounge. But yeah, when this stream wraps up, I'm going to open up a members lounge. It's exclusive to members and anybody with a membership. We usually have some different types of conversations in the members lounge. So if you are a channel member, be sure to join me over there. It's a completely separate stream from this one. But for now, I'll hang out with the chat for a couple more minutes before we wrap this up. You want to see some reps? Well, we do reps when we hit 2 goals. So we have quite a ways to go. In order for me to do some reps today, we would have to hit 50 members, but we're at 28, which is still good. 25 is what we do to feed this guy over here some treats. Man, he's knocked out. Why is he so tired today? Um, Stellar Blade. How many hours am I into? I think I'm about 14 or 15 hours into it. I'm actually kind of stuck on this one boss. And I think it's like an extra boss too. It's like a side boss, and I was trying to beat him this morning. I died like 12 times, and I'm like, okay, I'm like really close to beating him though. See, we have Garrett Green. Garrett Green decides to join the MBG army. Garrett, shout out to you, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You just brought us up to 29 members on the day, gaining access to the members lounge. Love to see it. Thank you for that, bud. Boss is digesting. Does slow PlayStation news hurt my channel? I think it hurts viewership. Yeah, for sure. Like, absolutely. Like, when there's no PlayStation news, because my channel is very much even though people try to make it sound like it's not, my channel is very PlayStation centered. When there's not much news, the viewership definitely drops. When it comes to overall support, though, well, again, that's where I give a big shout out to this community, because you guys still show up. You guys still show fan funding, and I always say you guys still allow me to do what I do here, and I'm extremely thankful for that. But yeah, I definitely benefit, and I think everybody does, truthfully, when there's actually interesting things going on, and more. It doesn't even have to be good news necessarily, but just some kind of news, you know. Is the boss the brute at the bottom of the mine area? No, not. I think it's like a tougher version of the last boss you defeat in the first area. I'm still in the second main area. I did complete the third area, but I went back to the second main area. I don't know the names of all these places, but I went back to the second like desert area to clean up some of the side stuff. And one of the things I found was like a bonus boss, Gigas. Yeah, I think that's who I'm stuck on. MBG Tom Henderson replied to a leaked GTA 6 image that looks so photorealistic. I can't wait to see more GTA 6, dude. Yeah, that's where I am, where the soldiers died. This boss seems to have like a second phase, where I noticed the first phase isn't too tough, but he gains his shield back when you get his health halfway down, and he gets more aggressive. And it seems like the second half of that boss battle is more focused on dodging. And for some reason, I'm just like struggling to really time his attacks, because he does a lot of attacks like in rapid succession. But there was this one time where he had just a sliver of health left. I just needed one more hit on him. And you know how it is, guys. When you get to that point, I just need one more hit. You get desperate. Like, I'll make it. I'll make it. And you think you're going to land your attack, and instead you mistimed it. It's like you were also one hit too, buddy. And he landed his hit first. Use the reflex type exospine. I gotta try to maybe look into using some different exospines. There's a lot of different ways to alter your character, to alter Eve and the playstyle, and I keep forgetting that. Like, I keep forgetting about the exospines. Yeah, dude, boss is like knocked out, bro. He really is. He's he must have had like a little bit of a crash after those snacks. Yeah, I'm still really enjoying Stellar Blade. I'm taking my time with it. I'm not playing it for like massive chunks at one time. I'm just kind of chipping away at it. I did like that section though, the last section I just played, where you're kind of like in this underground facility, and it basically becomes like a shooter. And I was like, wow, okay, this is pretty cool. They really kind of changed the gameplay up more than I expected. It's a really well made game. Yeah. You're nearing the platinum. Is this game difficult to platinum, by the way? I've seen some people kind of flexing that they already had the platinum. Yeah, actually, I completed one of the gun section so far. Yeah, it does feel more like survival horror in a way. It's not too difficult. You know, there are a little bit more puzzles in the game than I expected, but they're not super annoying. They're pretty simple. Like they kind of walk that line of you definitely have to think a little bit, but not too hard, and they feel rewarding enough. What difficulty am I playing on? Just the standard difficulty right now. Just the standard difficulty. PlayStation 5 is trending on X because of Xbox games. Oh yeah, maybe I could react to that Digital Foundry video in the members lounge. That'd be pretty funny. How long is that video, by the way? Is it a long one? What Digital Foundry video? Somebody was telling me that there's a Digital Foundry video that just released where they were answering the question why Xbox games are running better on PS5. Actually says the game is an amazing journey. Playing New Game Plus on hard now. Took 47 hours with almost all side quests. Damn. Sounds like you really enjoyed it. Yeah, I saw your comment on the last video I made, actually. Basically gave a little mini review of the game. Sounded like you really enjoyed it. Not surprised. It's very good. The Drum Man 77 says, please say hello to boss. I'm waving at him through the window. Uh-oh. This window? It's the secret sauce, MBG. Have I seen that Funko Fusion reveal? I saw the thumbnail for the trailer. I didn't actually click on it. From the PC window. Okay. Thank you for confirming. Saying 53 hours for me. I missed 3 journal entries, but found everything else. And missed out on the final skill point. Yeah, I saw that the Boys season 4 is coming out. I'm looking forward to that. It's a good show. All right. All right, guys. I think this is where I'm gonna wrap this up. Really quick, actually, you're saying Stellar Blade has a 9.3 on Metacritic with over 3,100 reviews. Wow. So it did go back up to 9.3. That is crazy. Yeah, that's really impressive. Good stuff. All right, guys, this is where I'm going to end the stream, though. Again, to all my channel members, if you have a channel membership badge, you will be able to enter the members lounge after this. As I say that, we have Ninja Raiden coming in, dropping another membership gift. Truly a last call here for any membership gifts. If anybody else wants to gift now. Like Ninja Raiden. Really appreciate that, man. You just brought us up to...
Appreciate it.
Well, actually, since your name's Ninja Raiden...
Kept you waiting,
sense, you know? Brought us up to 30 members on the day. Really, really appreciate that. Appreciate all the support that you guys continue to show the channel. And so, yeah, you're saying that it was 29. It just wasn't sitting right for you. I appreciate that. Yo, if somebody wants to drop a 20 bomb and make it 50, go right ahead. But yeah, thank you guys so much for all of your support. We will be moving to the members lounge. I want to just make sure I give a thorough thank you to everybody who dropped membership gifts or anybody who became a channel member, and also anybody who donated a super chat. Again, you guys are the sponsors of the channel. I'm only able to do this and only able to continue running this channel because you guys power it and allow me to do so. So thank you so much to everybody for all of your support. I also want to make sure that I give a big shout out to Devil Shooter. He does the timestamps for the stream, and he does a great job. So if you do see Devil Shooter in the comments with the timestamps, give him a big thank you. I know he really cares about this community, and he does a lot of good work for us. So Devil Shooter, thank you so much, man. And yeah, that's going to do it for the stream. Members Lounge is going up. So to all my members, I will catch you over there. And to everybody else, I will catch you in the next proper stream. The next stream should be happening on Sunday, same time, same place. Tomorrow should be a video. So yeah. All right. IP Gaming says, bring your helmets. Yeah, I love that that's the new thing now, IP Gaming. All right, guys, that does it. And one last thing. As you're heading out, hit that like button for me. We're sitting at 259 likes. Maybe we can get up to 275. Every like helps. So thank you guys for that. But that does it. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll catch you guys in the Members Lounge. And to everybody else, I will catch you in the next one. So until then. Oh, hold on. Wait. Hold on. I'm sorry. God. One last thing. The next stream, by the way, let me double check. Yeah. If I don't stream before Sunday, when we do that stream on Sunday, it's going to be Boss's birthday, by the way. So just wanted to throw that out there. It's going to be a big day for Boss. All right. That does it. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys. I'll catch you in the next one. Take care, everybody.